but like Reservoir was doing a real big thing the other day on the evaluation of Trump's like property. And so he started looking at the properties around Trump. And there's like an empty lot next to Trump's property that's worth like 70 million. And so like all these properties are worth just like outrageous things. And then these people are like, oh yeah, it's only worth a little bit. So it's pretty clear to me that like it seems like a concerted effort to get him. Like whether or not you even like Trump at this point, it's just like they're coming for him no matter what he does. You know, this guy could have a golden goose. He could be King Midas, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, that's not gold. That's fool's gold." Like, you know, it doesn't matter what he's doing. Like, they're coming after him, and it's really just feeding the ammo to the Trump supporters. I think, I feel like I just proving the point that it's like a collusion to get him. But no, I don't know anything specific about the True Social stock.
I thought you'd be the one to ask.
They should be going after him a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, they should also be going after the Biden crime family and all their collusion with Ukraine and all their bullshit. But you know, like for example, he got charged with that crime of the bullshit with like, oh, hey, we're gonna go high. He's got the documents. Oh, well, at least this was locked up and secured the way that the FBI, the Secret Service wanted. Biden's got his shit in the garage behind a Camaro that his crackhead son can go access at any time. So I don't want to hear like that he should be going after any harder. You know, whatever. They're like just letting Biden.
Treason.
Yeah, so did Biden with the border, but you know, nobody's doing anything about that.
Wait, what?
This whole thing.
Yeah, Biden's actively committing treason currently. Yeah, Biden's actively currently committing treason.
I would love to hear that line of logic.
Well, so
please explain. I would love to hear what the border has to do with treason.
He should be securing the border as specified in the Constitution. Instead, Texas is having to pick up the slack while he's actively tearing down the state, making the border weaker. So, yeah, he's actively committing acts of terror and acts of war against his own country. So that's treasonous behavior.
Treason is the act of trying to overthrow the government.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's trying to overthrow the United States government. That's what Biden's
treason is any act against the government.
Power. He's trying to make sure that he stays in power by bringing all these people in.
What's the argumentation? What's the argumentation? Joe.
Testing.
Well, you could pick your poison. There's a whole bunch of them.
The argument, I've heard this one before. So the argument is that the president.
What's the argument that he hasn't committed treason? Everything he's done is treasonous.
Okay, the argument is that
the president is. He destroyed our natural gas resources.
Okay, can you let the one that's actually trying to give an actual topic talk, please? Thank you. Appreciate it.
He asked me, so
no, I didn't ask anybody. I asked a general question. I didn't say Gibbs.
Leafy asked me, son. So what? Next time you pipe up, know what the fuck you're talking about.
God damn it.
Okay, so the line of argument that Gibbs generally
I'm ready today. About, I don't know if you saw my stream, but we got
shut the fuck up so we can talk.
He asked me a direct question.
Mr. Hammer. Okay, cool. I'll fix it.
I got Hammer muted, so I don't know if Hammer's talking. It doesn't matter if he's talking. He's gonna stay muted.
It doesn't matter if you're talking now either. Hammer, go ahead and talk. Okay. I can hear you. Okay. It doesn't matter if Gibbs talks. I can hear you.
Okay. So the line of argument that Gibbs uses, I've heard this a million times. So when it comes to the border, he says that it's the president is constitutionally obligated to secure the borders, to secure our country from outside threats. And since he's not fulfilling his requirement, and in his words, he's like weakening the border, he's committing treason.
That's not treason. That's just derogation of duty. I forget what
dereliction of duty.
Dereliction of duty. Yeah, dereliction of duty. That's what that is. That's not treason. It's dereliction of duty.
Yeah, and it gets obviously weird the more like you get into it. Like if like the president is constitutionally obligated to do a lot of things, but like if he doesn't like do the right thing according to your opinion, like how do you prosecute someone for treason on that regard? It's
it's actually really hard to prosecute someone for treason.
Yeah,
they wanted to do it to Bo, that staff sergeant that left post in Iraq, or was it Iraq, Afghanistan?
I know who you're talking about.
Bo Bergdahl. He left his post in, I think it was in Iraq. That he left his post. No, it was Afghanistan. It was Afghanistan. He deserted his post. They wanted to try him for treason, but it's just so hard to convict someone of treason.
Is there any like precedent for like convicting someone of treason for dereliction of duty? Has that ever happened?
No, not that I
don't
know
believe so.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought. I'm pretty sure for treason you have to be like actively colluding with enemy forces, or like someone who doesn't have.
Yeah, you have to be active. It can't be like an inactive action. Treason is very much an active crime. You have to actively commit treason. You can't inactively commit treason.
Yeah, just like everything Biden's doing, he's actively committing treason. I'm glad that you established that for us.
Okay. It's not actively committing treason, but okay.
It is though.
It's not, but okay.
It absolutely is. Whenever you're directing
How so?
Whenever you're going
dereliction of duty is not an active. It's not an active action.
And then whenever you're actively going against
action.
the good of the country, and you're bringing in people,
you're just trying to change the meaning of words. You're just trying to change the meaning of words here.
Tearing down
because
borders.
Dereliction of duty is by definition inactive. Is inactive.
That's one of them. That's one of the reasons it's treason. The other is when he's actively. I know you don't understand the word active. I know you're confused.
No, you don't understand the word active. Now you're just moving the goalposts and trying to make me look stupid.
But let me explain something. Hey, let me ask you a question. How many doctorates do you have?
How many what?
Doctorates do you have?
That does not matter. I've got 0.
It does. See right here. I don't know if you know this, but as you may find out, I actually have 2 doctorates now.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and you apparently don't even know the word English.
So you paid a lot of money. You paid a lot of money to get 2 doctorates, and you're here.
Okay. Apparently, you don't know what the word active means when they're actively tearing down things. That's the definition. 2
doctorates, and you're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am here.
Aren't you happy with what you've done with your life?
I am happy. I mean, unlike you, I actually have enough money that if my house burns down tomorrow, I'll buy a new one. I don't have to wait for the insurance. See, I've done enough in my life that I've accomplished things. So you just, like I said, pipe down there.
Do you want a pat on the back? You want a cookie?
I do want a cookie. I do want a pat on the back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
I got cheeseburgers.
A fucking question. What are your doctorates in?
Metaphysics and divinity.
And pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Is that real? Wait, yeah, I think he has.
Wait, what?
Yes.
He bought the doctorate of divinity off of offline. He said that last time.
Mm-hmm. I am now.
Did you buy the doctorate of metaphysics too?
I have a religious doctorate. It doesn't matter where I got them. I'm still a doctorate.
So you bought both your doctorates. Okay,
I'm still a doctorate. And what are you? You're nothing.
So I want to know where you buy a doctorate.
I'm actually going to be.
Metaphysics.
I'm going to be reviewing one of.
He's a peer review one of the papers
soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then once it's published, I'll be a peer review doctor, and you'll have nada.
I'm aware of how he got the doctorates, and he did so legally. I mean, it's absolutely valid.
Valid doctorate. You can call me Doctor Reverend.
Let me look something up real quick.
I want to know who he blackmailed to get that done.
Don't worry about it. It's not important.
Why are you guys having a hard time believing that Gibbs got a doctorate? Like, are we? Is there like some kind of like insinuation?
No, he bought it.
I mean, I'm also
bought
the
doctorate.
Well, he got a doctorate. We all buy our degrees one way or another.
Yeah, we all
paying for tuition, right?
He didn't attend a single class to get that doctorate.
How do you know that? You don't know that. I had to answer some questions.
What's the definition of class? Yeah.
Okay, lawyer. See, you actually have a doctorate. You just have a Juris Doctorate. I don't know why you're defending someone who doesn't have an actual doctorate.
I'm also working on Juris Doctorate.
As a Juris Doctor, I recognize my fellow doctor, Dr. Gibbs.
Oh my gosh.
I want to give him the respect he deserves as a fellow doctor.
Thank you, Lactoid. I appreciate that.
Quit.
You know what, Lactoid? I got something for you, just for you, Lactoid.
You can barely say it with a straight face. I love it.
Corey Campbell, also an accredited academic, he also was very enthusiastic about my doctorates the other night as well. So clearly, the academia of my fellow peers are big fans. Just those that are uneducated are not fans. Cheers.
I quit. I'm just expecting Lactoid and gives doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He's going to be a published doctor, actually, right? So
soon, very soon.
By the way, having a doctorate doesn't make you a doctor.
And let's send on over to him.
Wait, having a doctorate does make you a doctor. Having a doctorate does make you a doctor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got a few people showing up late due to some emergencies, so we might as well just go ahead and get things rolling. Yeah, that sort of deal. So, welcome one and all to the Minds of the Ecclesia panel. I am your host, Lethe Water Kai, and with me we are going to discuss some fine topics with the doctor, and the rest of the panel. Let's go ahead and get some introductions rolling. Let's start with Dr. Gibbs.
Yes, you can call me Dr.
Sorry, Dr. Admiral.
Yeah, Dr. Reverend Admiral Gibbs, yes. Yes, thank you so much, Lethy. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to talk about these topics. You can find me on Admiral Gibbs everywhere. It's going to be good times. I'm really looking forward to this debate and this discussion.
Awesome. And with us, Dr. Lactoid.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here with my fellow Dr. Gibbs and Lethy. Thank you so much for inviting me. The other panelists, I've met a couple of you. Sprout, as always, good to see you, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent. And we have Hammer once again. Glad to have you.
Hello, I'm Mr. Hammer. Yeah, I talk about politics sometimes, mostly just hang out, play video games, and I'm also happy to be here.
Awesome. Too legit to quit. And
Yep.
my man Sprout was good. Not hood rat today, but it's you still give off the energy.
Yeah, I'm the Sprouticus. You can find me at twitch.tv/thesprouticus, twitter.com/thesprouticus. Looking forward to the conversation with an actual doctor and a fake ass doctor.
And the man who needs no introduction, the vigilante who doesn't have his beard anymore.
Yep, I shaved. Hi guys. The Vigilante TV on Twitch and Twitter. Whenever I start streaming again, but I still tweet.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, so let's get to the first topic. Wait, 1 sec. All right. What should be done to mitigate violent interactions between students? Should teachers or SROs be given more authority and agency to mitigate violence? Minnesota is poised to give school resource officers clear authority to use force. In St. Paul, Minnesota lawmakers are on the verge of compromise that will give police officers who work in schools clearer authority to use force. Minnesota reacted to the 2020 murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis officer with a series of police accountability measures that included restrictions on the use of force, such as a ban on chokeholds. But a section of a broad education law enacted last year led around 40 police departments across the state to pull their officers from schools. They said the new restrictions on the use of face-down prone restraints, which can impair breathing, made it impossible for them to do their jobs. The Minnesota House voted 124-8 Monday to pass a change backed by law enforcement that's meant to ensure that school resource officers can use prone restraints on students, although school staff would still remain banned from doing so. It would also require better training and creation of a model policy on the duties of police who work in schools. It also would expressly prohibit officers from being used to impose discipline for violations on school policies. I'm hoping that we can get them all back into school with this stuff fixed today, said Republican Representative Jeff Witt of Lakeville, a retired Burnsville police officer who was a school resource officer for 4 of them. And I think this will obviously keep our schools and our students and our teachers safe, but also give our parents some peace of mind. So how do we feel about this? Let's start with Gibbs.
Yeah, as I've said many times, the problem with children today is that they're not getting enough whoopings. And it's real simple here that we need more beatings and stronger abilities for the police officers and teachers in schools to handle these children. In fact, as someone with many, many years of combat sports experience at a D1 level, I would advocate for maybe we do more hand-to-hand combat training, not only for this the police officers, but maybe for the teachers. So whenever one of these kids is acting up, they can give him a swift backhand to the face and then give him an rear naked choke and put him to sleep and then pass him on all over to the office and let their parents come pick up this unruly, degenerate child that's fighting these people. And if people don't like that, well, maybe they should raise their kids better at home, and so they won't be acting up at school. And I think it's a pretty clear and easy solution. The nuns were able to do it back in the day with mobsters, so you're telling me they can't handle them now? Ridiculous.
All right, Lactoid.
I'm gonna kind of back Gibbs up a little bit here. We've all seen the videos. I mean, there are teachers getting hurt and brutalized by their students. I've got close family members that are they're teachers, and they have been attacked by their students. And it's getting to the point where there seems to be so much effort on justifying the bad behavior and making excuses, and essentially minimizing how teachers can defend themselves, not only as teachers, but also as people, right? There's an element here of If I was in the street and some, larger than me person's running at me throwing fists, no one's going to blame me if I, throw a swift elbow and clip him in the chin, right? That'd be understandable. But all of a sudden in the school context, it's unacceptable and this teacher's violating the rules and there's something wrong about that. I think that anybody, regardless of the job they do, they're not giving up their right to self-defense. I think that you have a right if you feel like your life or your health is in danger. Much like that teacher who got, there's a video, she took away his Game Boy or something, and then she was laying on the ground getting kicked. And no one was doing anything about it because I think people are afraid to do something about it. I think this law is probably a step in the right direction. I would like it to apply to teachers as well. I think teachers should probably be able to, if they feel as though their health is in danger or the health of other students, they should be able to be more proactive in using force to restrain students, and then hopefully get the situation under control. This shouldn't be a situation where the schools are being run by the students. The schools should be run by the adults, and there has to be some level of enforcement to make that happen. Otherwise, you're going to have complete anarchy.
All right, Hammer.
Yeah, I don't believe in corporal punishment. That being said, I think it's probably really important to have police officers at schools. People have been talking about mentioning having teachers have guns, which I think is ridiculous because they're not properly trained. However, police officers, for the safety of the students, is a probably good idea. I see no problem with it. I actually, just personal experience, we had police officers in my high school and we didn't have any issues. Nobody fought with the police officers. They never stepped in or got in fights with kids. It's yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't see any argument against this.
All right, Sprout.
I'm gonna go with Mr. Hammer. I don't see any argument against this. The officer should be the only one performing these techniques. These techniques can be dangerous and require a lot of training. So laying a student out like that is going to require a lot of training that honestly teachers don't need to have. Teachers should be training on how to teach kids, not how to perform this takedown and perform this control that these officers are going to be doing. And so basically it comes out of that. Teachers just don't have the training to do this. There might be some that do, but that's the exception, not the rule. And so if we're making laws by the rules. So yeah, I have nothing against this bill. If anything, I support it. It does not take away teachers' self-defense. They're still able to defend themselves. There's just certain techniques they're not allowed to use because of the danger it poses to the student.
All right. And Vigilante.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with cops, like the resource officers and stuff, being able to use force. I definitely agree with Sprout and Hammer. Like, the teachers shouldn't necessarily be able to use force. I mean, at this point, though, I mean, we also need to be limiting what kind of force and stuff that can be used in schools. I mean, I think there's so many fucking videos of not just school resource officers, but fucking teachers and shit, fucking just body slamming autistic 12-year-olds on the internet. You could easily find you could fucking Google it and find it, find fucking 12 videos of it relatively quickly. I mean, I'd say the amount of force that's used to get students under control is already a little bit of excessive, and it probably should be limited just to the cops.
All right, open up the discussion.
Yeah, I don't know how you can say that we have seen more videos of teachers beating up kids when every day I see a video of a teacher getting their ass beat by some 6'5" basketball player or football player, and it's some 140-pound woman, and they're just getting backhanded, thrown into lockers, and then 8 kids are jumping on and beating them up. We even saw a girl last week get curb stomped, or the week before last, by somebody she was a person in American History X. You got to be fucking kidding me if you think that we're not going to sit here we're saying that it's the teacher's fault. These kids are unruly. I don't know if you've been to a modern school recently, but I went recently to go see one of my cousin's basketball games, right? And I went to go take him lunch, and there was 3 fights in the school. and the student resource officers couldn't do much. They basically had to go there and go, poo poo, get away, and then these kids are just like beating the shit out of these student resource officers. So like, yeah, absolutely, I disagree vehemently. Like, I mean,
that's why we should be letting them actually use their fucking tasers and shit.
oh, you want to
like,
tase the kids instead of like restrain?
I am more okay with them being able to tase the kids.
Necessary.
All right, well, in that case, I take everything on the answer. We should let all the teachers have tasers, and we should crank that voltage up.
I want to be completely honest.
No, it's not about. It's not about like attacking the kids.
I have less of a problem with the kids getting tased than I do with them getting fucking body slammed.
Why? That's way more likely to cause permanent injury than body slam.
No, I don't know if that's true. Depending on how you body slam them.
Pretty sure body slamming somebody will cause.
Like I literally just saw a video of like a guy body slam another guy, and he had to be like helicoptered away.
Well, maybe he was a pussy ass bitch, but that's
it's because you're thrown on his spine. I'm sorry, you can't just get a stronger spine. You just can't work out your fucking nerves.
Well,
in your
if you're acting up to the point that you need to get body slammed on your spine,
a body slam can literally kill someone.
We're saying no.
Guys, you just heard him say it. This is going to go absolutely nowhere. He just said that if you fucked up enough to do that, then you deserved it. Like absolutely. this is absolutely victim blaming. That's all this is going to be. Is going to be victim blaming.
If you start
victim blaming
and then you get finished. Like if I punch you in the face and you body slam me and I break my back, is it my fault that you body slam me, or is it your fault that you defended yourself?
Well, it's used as a restraint, right? So a restraint doesn't necessarily... Wait, stop. No, stop. It's being used as a restraint. So a restraint doesn't necessarily mean that someone has to get hit first. A restraint is to restrain someone from causing damage. So if they think it's likely to cause damage, then they will put the student in a restraint.
Examples are these teachers are getting swung on, and they're actually getting hit, as we see all the time. Whose fault is it if they body slam that student to stop and restrain them? And whose fault is it at that point?
It's the student. I mean, it's not the students. It's the teachers. It's the teacher. No, I've got to get. It's the teachers. It's the teacher's fault because the teacher needs to know the difference between proper force and improper force. If they're being swung on, it's not the next step up is not. It's definitely not body slamming. And that is definitely going. That's even more aggressive. So what you're doing is you're taking the situation and you're bumping it up levels and going, oh, it's the student's fault. He shouldn't have started it. And now we get to do whatever we want to the student because it's all justified because I got swung at.
Yeah, absolutely. You should have started it.
Oh my gosh.
How's that victim blaming?
This is the stupid shit you get when Gibbs is on here. It's the stupid shit you get.
Let me tell you, this is the stupid shit you're saying. You're literally saying that the guy who punches you first is the victim.
If they get body slammed, yes.
That is the most idiotic, retarded thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
I mean, like, if
I walk up and stab you, are you and you shoot me? Am I the person at fault because I stabbed you, or are you the person at fault because you shot me and defended yourself?
No, because you attacked me with lethal force.
Oh, okay. So so a fist you can't kill somebody by punching them in the temple?
That's not considered lethal force.
Well, it is considered lethal force. You can be sued if you have a combat force.
It's not considered lethal force. It's not considered lethal force.
It absolutely can be.
It is not considered. It's not legally considered lethal
legally
force.
How it's considered exactly.
Again, if
you stab me, that's legally considered. That's legally considered lethal force. If you stab me.
If you go to court for killing somebody, when you punch them and they accidentally die, you're going to get a lesser sentence than if you shot them because there was not an expectation that they would die.
They have examples of boxers being charged with lethal force. If there's a lot of kids that train Golden Gloves, so you're telling me a Golden Gloves level kid punches a teacher in the head, the teacher gets permanent brain damage or dies, they're not going to be charged with the crime that's equal to being charged.
We
with
never said they wouldn't be charged with a crime.
We said isn't lethal force.
Charged with assault, though.
Yeah, that's the difference between first and second degree murder. Well, it's literally a different degree of murder.
So the difference between first and second degree is going to have to do with like the level of premeditation. So you can pull a gun and shoot somebody and it still not be first degree. It can still be second degree. I agree that like...
Is there examples of this?
Yeah, like the classic examples like gang shootings, right? So like if I'm walking on the street and like I see like a rival gang member walk up and I quickly pull out my gun and shoot him and kill him, that's going to be second degree because it's not premeditated, right? It's not like we didn't plan it out. Heat of the moment situations, like I get in a bar fight and then like all of a sudden I like pull a gun, that's also going to be second degree. So when it comes to like punching somebody and killing them, yeah, you're going to get charged, as you should. The cases I've seen, if there's like not a reasonable chance, or you don't think there's a reasonable chance the person's going to die, you're probably going to get a lesser sentence, just honestly, because
I would say punching somebody and killing them probably get you like second-degree manslaughter or something like that.
you're probably the argument's going to be, well, you didn't actually even intend to kill them, right? And so they're going to argue against the second-degree murder by itself, and then then it's going to be okay. Do we charge them with second-degree murder or manslaughter? And just that question alone is going to lead to a lesser sentence because it involves a negotiation that the prosecutor has to do in order to get to a final sentence. What I wanted to point out, though, is that tasers can be lethal as well, right? They're considered less lethal. They're not even called lethal or non-lethal anymore. And I can also see situations where, you tase somebody, and yeah, like it's not as dangerous as shooting them, but there are circumstances in which, like, let's say two kids are like fighting each other, or you got a kid like, choke holding a teacher, or there's all sorts of circumstances which I think a taser would actually be not the correct solution, and direct physical force might be better. So maybe I'm not a fan. Like, I like the idea of tasers. Maybe that can be implemented as a strategy, but I think the general idea should be, let's just, if we empower teachers to make a level of a judgment call here, use reasonable force to stop the kid from fucking the other kid up, or stop the kid from fucking the teacher up, or stop the kid from doing whatever the fuck these kids are doing. And the teachers that are absolutely unreasonable, yeah, maybe we step in and stop them. But sometimes you got to body slam a kid, right? If they're like I said, like David Gibbs said, if they're a 16-year-old football player who's getting tackled all the time, and like they're built like trucks, and he's like beating the shit out of like some smaller kid, and I can't get a good vantage point for a taser, I might come in and throw a punch, or try to get him in the arm bar, or whatever I can do, right? I mean, it's all going to be context dependent. I hate it when there's just like straight bans on chokeholds or bans on certain moves without any regard to the context in which they're used.
So, like, to an extent, yeah, I agree. Like, when we're talking like 16 to 18-year-olds, especially like ones that like play fucking like wrestling, football, basketball, like the bigger kids, like, yeah, you're gonna probably end up needing to body slam them to get them down. The problem is, like, a lot of the examples that we can find online, like if you literally just go on YouTube and look at the results from the last year of like teachers body slamming students, most of them are middle schoolers. The overwhelming majority of them are middle schoolers.
Honestly, I you know what? Maybe Gibbs is gonna jump down my throat for like not having experience in MMA, but like, is there ever a point where like you could body slam someone but not like pin them?
Without pinning them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you're like incapable of getting someone to the ground,
there are like situations where you.
If you're incapable of getting someone to the ground, body slamming them isn't going to work.
Well, hold on. There's 2 parts. There's 2 parts to that. One,
that's a genuine question, by the way.
Yes. You can't. Like, I don't know what Sprout's talking about, but one, if
you're not strong enough to take someone to the ground, you're not strong enough to body slam them.
That's not true. That's absolutely not true. There's a point. I'm like 300 pounds, and I've had.
You can trip them. Yeah, sure.
No, absolutely not.
Using somebody else's.
You are wrong. Listen, you are unequivocally wrong, Sprouticus.
Okay, cool. Because people with no training are going to body slam someone. They can't take them to the ground, right? That's what's going to happen, right? Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on.
We're also talking about police officers.
Let's talk about it. No, we're not talking about police officers. We're talking about teachers.
I've had 140-pound women body slam my 280-pound ass multiple once, and I'm not talking trip. I'm talking.
That's embarrassing.
Did you enjoy it?
It's not embarrassing. It's not embarrassing.
Were they trained?
I'll tell you why. Because these girls are beasts. They're like 2 of them are 6-0 right now in MMA. One of them is trained with Rico Rodriguez.
Shit, they're fucking trained.
That's my point. Is they should be trained. We should be requiring.
We should be training teachers on how to take down students.
Absolutely we should, because it's part of the curriculum right now. We have degenerate bullshit children who are sitting there acting like heathens and fighting other kids. It's becoming a bigger and bigger problem in our schools. The teachers should be trained so that they can maintain control of their classrooms over these degenerate heathens. I just don't understand why that's even a debate. Like, you're going to sit here and say, oh, well, if they're not trained. And my argument is we should absolutely be training them so that this like 130-pound little woman that's teaching is not getting beat up by 6 high school kids. Like, I don't understand why that's even an argument.
Gibbs, I have another actual question. So,
but as for the pin thing, yeah, there's a lot of body slam opportunities where they body slam them and you don't get pinned.
Wait, so sure. So another question: when these women body slammed you, did you go like this? Like did they?
I mean, I've had
Like,
one
make you go
throw me
straight
6
down,
feet over.
or
I've
did
had
they
one
go
of
like
them.
this, where they
Yeah,
like threw you on your head?
I've had them straight, like throw me 6 feet in the air, like not 6 feet, but like throw me way over their shoulder, and I'm landing on my neck, landing on my head, landing on my back. This isn't the WWE where they're teaching you safe landings. They're teaching you how to throw. If that's what you do, you go in there, you lock up, and they lift, and you lift, and you use your hip movement, and then you throw. Like it's really simple. It's a suplex. It's like it's a basic move. They do in Greco-Roman.
Wait, was
They
this
do in
happening?
judo.
Was this wait? This was happening in like training. Like could
Yeah, absolutely.
like
So
could
I'm
this
saying,
happen? Could this happen in like actual fighting?
sure. Yeah,
circumstances?
I mean, if the right woman got a hold of me, I'm sure that she could. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Do you want the
You're
right one to
just
get a hold
expecting
of
every
you?
teacher to
Gibbs?
be that right woman, right?
Absolutely, I want the right woman to get a hold of me. Let me
Waiting
tell
for
you.
that.
Tell you, not afraid of that.
So
Little
we're all
Bobby Wobby
okay. We're all okay with like kicking a kid's ass every once in a while, right? If the situation
Well, as
requires,
little kicking their ass as little as possible should be the goal,
I
right?
agree. I agree.
Which is why we should have, honestly, there's probably an argument for more.
You should not
resource
escalate the
officers.
situation. You should be trying to
Because,
de-escalate
like-
the situation.
Because if your only options are to like, if there's a kid that you're like have a situation with and you can't like, pull them off and like, control them by yourself, that just means that you just need more people to help you out. Because if one person can't hold them back, then 2 or 3 definitely can.
How do you get more people in a closed door classroom?
Closed door classroom?
Like, so if you're getting jumped by a kid, and like say you're a teacher, and this kid who's a football player starts swinging on you, bam, bam. Oh, you graded me an F? Yeah, you got an F. You didn't do the work. The kid's like, fuck you, and then starts beating the teacher. How is the teacher going to go get more help while they're getting their ass beat? You tell me that.
They send someone to get help.
Oh, they send somebody. They're getting punched
I
in the
mean, they
mouth.
defend themselves as well as they can while that's happening.
And so
Of course.
So what happens? So okay, in this scenario you just laid out, they defend themselves while it's happening. They body slam the kid into a desk to get the kid off them. All right, you just Spouticus earlier just said now that's the teacher's fault. The teacher's getting their ass beat. The teacher has thrown a punch. They're bleeding. Their nose is broken. Now they body slam the kid to get away. Whose fault is it at that
This
point?
is such a ridiculous example.
No, this is an example that happens all the
This
time.
is such
I
a
can pull
ridiculous
videos.
example.
Do I need to
I
pull
don't.
the video?
This doesn't happen all the time, Gibbs.
It does all the time.
I don't know.
I would say
I don't know.
It's the kid's fault. I would say that's an appropriate use of force if it's that bad.
Yeah, if they're bleeding from their face, yeah. If they throw a punch, which is the first example you gave, then no, a teacher should not body slam them because it's not supposed to be escalating situation. I don't understand what you don't understand about that.
Can I throw like a reverse example at Gibbs? Okay, so say it's not like a kid's like swinging on their teacher and like beating the absolute like living shit out of them. Like say the kid is like getting aggressive, yelling and pushing them, and like looks like he's about to start a fight. Would you say that a body slam is okay in that circumstance?
About to start a fight? Like about to start a fight?
Yeah, no, like pushing her around, like getting angry. You know how to like shoving them and like yelling in their face.
Here, I'm going to post a video here for you. This is a teacher getting beat up by a student right here. I don't know if I have perms in this channel, but I will send it and I'll send it a thing. You tell me.
Or you can put it in the group chat.
Yeah, I'll post it in the group chat. Is what I was about to say. I'll post it here. You tell me if at this point the teacher could have gone and got help. All right, you tell me at what point the teacher could have gone and got help, all right?
You can't watch.
And I believe that kid was autistic.
Either way, it doesn't matter. I don't care if
Is it the one where like where that
it doesn't fucking matter? No, it doesn't fucking matter. There's no body slamming that student. That teacher was done for at the beginning.
Yeah, but that's fine. But my point is the teacher couldn't have got help, could they have?
There's another fucking teacher right there.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure they did go and get
two
help.
of them.
Yeah, and look, the teacher's not able to do anything. This teacher is not able to do anything, and they're just getting loaded up.
the fuck out.
No, she's just getting beat up. No, what's this other teacher doing? Nothing. What's that teacher doing? Nothing. They're not able to restrain this kid, and he's just literally beating on that teacher.
Look,
At what point would a pulling the kid off body slam style it been appropriate in that scenario? I can pull up more videos. You want more videos? I got more.
I think we literally just agreed that if it's this serious, then yeah, like body slam.
And you understand
that possible.
You understand that that's a Marine, right? You do understand it's a Marine that came across the corner, right?
How about this video here? Let's
wait. Okay. Wait, I mean, like I said, we both agreed with what you're saying here. If it's this intense, yes.
How about this one?
Yeah,
I'll post
like in
another one.
that
You
case-
you. How about this scenario? I got another one. I got
We're
a
just gonna
million.
keep.
of
We're
these.
just gonna keep going. How about this scenario? How about this
Yeah,
scenario? How
I
about this
mean, I
scenario?
honestly, like,
all day long.
like,
It's good.
I literally asked like a reverse question, like
He won't
we're
answer
just-
it. It's
like,
fine.
you're just-
No,
what
he
is
won't
the
answer.
question?
It's
pushing on
good.
the like. So say it's not this crazy. Say it's something where the
Sure,
student
put them
is
in a
angry,
headlock, pull them away.
pull him away, or like,
via
would you
headlock.
say that like, would you say that body slamming him in that case is like appropriate?
I would say possibly, yeah.
No, not like that's exactly what I'm
I
saying.
mean, you're
He's
asking
being
this
threatening,
in your
but he's
scenario.
not
It
beating
depends.
on her.
It depends on the situation. If you think that you're not going to be able to de-escalate,
What does it depend on?
So yeah, okay. If you're a teacher and you see two students fighting, and you don't think that if it escalates, you're going to be able to defend the other student, who you have a duty to defend and make sure that student stay. If one of them say a lot bigger, say it's like me and like I don't know, I'm a like 300-pound lineman, and it's a 160-pound skinny nerdy dude, and I've got this kid in the corner, and I'm about to beat the shit out of him. I think it's perfectly appropriate for a teacher at that point, if they think that once I start beating on this kid, to maybe body slam me and de-escalate this situation, because they have a duty to protect that other student.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's an appropriate use of force. I think there should be obviously measures of like an attempt at de-escalation, like trying to get in between them a little bit, not literally like, like trying to like pull them apart if you can. Obviously getting someone who's more appropriately able to stop the fight. Like any of those things before the fight actually starts is probably required before you can claim necessary force.
So you'd rather the other kid get beat up and possibly be permanently
He
injured?
just turns it around and
I'm asking
saw
you
that
a
coming
question.
two
I'm
miles
asking
away.
a question. I mean, it's an easy question. Okay, you're saying you don't think that's appropriate. I already answered and said I think that there are scenarios like the one I described where it would be appropriate. So it's not running like Sprouticus is saying. But I'm saying if I have the possibility of permanently injuring this other child, and does the teacher not have a duty to make sure that other kid doesn't end up brain dead because I beat the shit out of him and left him brain dead?
Actually, legally, no.
Well, you
Cops
do-
don't even
well-
have that duty.
Well, no, that's not the
think
point. But like,
teachers might.
Yeah,
Teachers
teachers
don't-
would.
Teachers don't
Yeah,
have the duty.
it's
No, they don't have the duty.
They don't have
it's
the
not
duty to have it maintained. A
No,
safe
they do not.
classroom?
They do not have a duty to put their lives at danger to protect someone else. They do not have that duty. Cops don't even have that duty.
Okay, but again, I'm not saying that they shouldn't like do what they can to stop the fight, but they should at least like attempt to make a de-escalation happen, right? In that situation.
And if say I'm just like fuck off, and I like go back to beating up, and I'm like got the kid pinned in the wall.
Well, if you
and every
actually
time the
start
kid
beating
goes
on him,
away,
then yeah, that's
no,
a
no.
different
Say I haven't beat
situation.
on him. Say I'm just making sure the kid's stuck in the wall, and I'm about to beat the shit out of him, and the teacher says, "Hey, Gibbs, calm down," and I'm like, "Fuck off," and I like just go back to doing it. At what point do you think the teacher's justified to step in? Is it when I start getting ready to raise my fist and start beating this kid? Are they justified in stopping me then?
It's probably, I would say, if you go up to him, like if he's starting this fight and he's like, and he seems like he's about to fight him.
There's literally an example of this already happened recently. A girl literally has brain damage because teachers didn't step in and let a fight go. Like, are you saying that
Yeah,
that girl
no.
should deserve the brain damage?
No, here's what I'm saying is in that situation, again, you should make attempts to stop the fight before it happens. So if that's happening, a kid is threatening another child and you walk up to him and you like get in their face and like, hey, you need to stop. They push you away. You probably should warn them like, hey, if you don't stop, I'm going to whatever. Or like, hey, you need to stop right now or else there's going to be consequences. Something like that. You like give them some kind of warning. And then at that point, then yeah, you should.
What if they don't care about the warning?
Then at that point, then yeah, you have the right to like physically interact. That's what I said. All I said is that you have a responsibility to attempt to de-escalate.
So, with the Gibbs, with the recent situation in Tennessee where the student died, do you think the teacher that was outside of the bathroom should be held responsible for the kid's death?
I would absolutely probably think so. Yeah, I think the teacher and the kid should be held responsible, at least in some degree.
That's ridiculous. That's
Why?
absolutely ridiculous.
Why?
Because then with that thought process, any bystander to any crime is going to be held responsible for
No,
the
it's
crime.
different. It's a student. It's supposed to be a safe learning environment. Your parents.
No,
are
because
entrusting the kid
teachers
needs to be
don't legally
guardians.
have that duty. We've
all
already
right,
discussed
hold
this.
on,
They
let me
don't
ask you
legally
this.
have that duty.
When you turn your kids off at school, right? Do you're basically turning them over to be the guardians of your children for the rest of the day, right? So the teachers are now the guardians of the children
No,
for
that's
the
not
rest of the day.
true.
Make sure. Oh, it's not true.
They're not guardians of the children. They are not legal guardians.
No, they are in the charge. Like they are in the charge of the school. And
They're in the charge of the school, but
if
the
school
teachers
is
don't become legal
negligent-
guardians at that point.
I don't know if I don't think the individual teachers are, but if the kids get hurt, the school could be liable, right?
Right.
The
The
school could be
authorities and-
liable, but the
and-
teacher is not liable.
I could imagine scenarios where perhaps the teacher could be liable, though, just even under like negligence, right? Like I guess it would depend on their role, and it would depend on what kind of school, and it would depend on a number of factors. But I can't.
Yeah,
imagine,
if you could have stopped it, right? If you could have stopped it, I don't disagray. Like if you're negligent in your job and you're just like you're letting everything go and like, okay, yeah, I know this is gonna happen, but fuck it, I don't really care. That's negligent, right? But at the same time, if some student just starts fucking like, just punching the fuck out of another student, and the teacher tries to go up, and then it doesn't work. They end up getting swung at. It doesn't hit, but they end up getting swung at. That teacher does not have the duty to continue to attempt to break up the fight. That teacher does not have the duty to put their life at risk. Police officers don't even have that duty.
Wait a minute. Why was that one police officer? Wasn't one police officer charged because he didn't go into like a school shooting?
I don't think he was charged.
The school.
He was let go or something, right? Or
So
like
the
these
school.
beautiful-
For sure, he was
Wait.
fired.
The school resource officer was it was negligence. That was the issue. Was negligence. There was other facts to that case that he did prior in that day that he could have done something then and didn't. But it wasn't because he didn't go into the school. And I think that was that Florida? Was that Parkville or Parkland? Parkland?
That was Uvalde, right?
Was it Uvalde?
Uvalde.
No, Uvalde. No,
Yeah,
Uvalde. Uvalde was.
No, Uvalde's the one where none of the cops went in and the entire police department.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then an off-duty cop went in.
But then
That's right.
actually, didn't that go to the Supreme Court and like they said they actually confirmed that the police didn't have a responsibility to go in?
No, that's not the case. It went to the Supreme Court. But that did get a lot of the media talking about the Supreme Court decision that was made, but that wasn't made recently.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, let me ask this: are you really saying that cops shouldn't put their safety on the line to help stop people from harming children?
By the way, also a jury is acquitted on all counts the former school resource officer who stayed outside during the February 2018 massacre at Major E. Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. So a jury absolved him of all wrongdoing. And no, in my opinion, that Supreme Court case is incorrect. But per the law, cops don't even have that duty, much less teachers.
Yeah. So are you actually saying that cops don't have a duty to like protect children in a crisis?
He's saying according
to the
law,
Supreme Court, it is the law of the land that cops do not have that duty. I disagree with the Supreme Court's ruling. However, it is the law of the land right now that cops do not have that duty, much less teachers.
Oh, I'm saying they definitely can be charged under negligence if they let another kid get brain damage because one kid's beating the shit out of them and they don't do anything. That's absolutely something that could and would happen, because you're definitely, whenever you turn your kids over to a school, you're putting them in the charge of the school, which is basically you're turning over guardianship.
The jury that was
Listen, laws change all the time.
Stop 1 second. The jury that was in charge of this, the jury that was seated on this case with the school resource officer acquitted him of all charges. So no, this is a gunman inside of a school.
Charges, but they can charge him civilly as well afterwards.
No, you can't charge someone civilly. You can file a lawsuit against them, but you don't charge someone civilly. Charging is a criminal action.
Okay. You're definitely being pedantic and like picking.
I'm not being pedantic.
I mean, if you listen. I don't know if you know what the word pedantic means, but that's definitely what you're being, because you're bitching about the word charge on a civil action. All right,
bro.
Listen, you know what I'm saying when I say that they can file a lawsuit regardless of him saying that
you were trying to twist the word active. Just before this. So we can roll this back and see who's being pedantic. But you don't charge someone civilly. And second off, the government doesn't file any lawsuits. That's private citizens that file lawsuits. And third off, there's a different level of evidence that's needed. It's the greater weight of the evidence, not beyond reasonable doubt. So there's so many differences between a criminal case and a
So
civil
this
case.
girl that got brain damage, you think that it was not the student's fault that gave her brain damage in this case?
No, it is the student's fault. It's not the teacher's fault.
Oh, so if that other student, say that student had fought back and the other kid had got damaged, would that be the student's fault? Because that's the scenario you gave me earlier.
No, that wouldn't be. If you fought back, no. It depends, though. If you
Okay,
there's-
so if a teacher
there's
fights
a
back,
wait,
what's the
stop.
difference?
1 second. Can I fucking answer the question?
I don't know.
please?
You don't let me
There's a
answer,
level.
so-
No. There's a level of escalation that if you continue to escalate the situation and then you become the aggressor, now you are in the wrong. You
What?
cannot become the aggressor.
No, you're definitely taught to like make
I
sure
think
that
that varies
you
state by
stop, you
state,
fight back
no?
until they can't harm you.
What'd you say, Mr. Hammer?
I think that varies state by state because I know what you're talking about. That like if someone slaps you and you like shoot them, like it varies state by state whether or not you can get charged with that. In some states, like there was that guy that was like getting like someone was putting a phone in his face and he shot him and he got acquitted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which state was that?
I think it was. I off the top of my head, I'm thinking Georgia, but I forgot. It was like a prank YouTuber. Shot.
Yeah,
It was
him
DC,
getting off was bullshit.
DC area, Washington DC.
I think it was absolutely
in
correct.
Washington
It's a
DC.
perfect call.
Damn, I thought that.
So
I saw the video.
yeah.
It was bullshit.
I mean,
so
you don't know. Like,
Do you disagree with that?
according-
it was a jury decision. I'm
So-
sure.
So according
It was,
to according to fine law, how self-defense law applies is that the self-defense is about prevention of harm, not retaliation. To rely on a self-defense, you must be lawfully present where you are. Trespassers cannot rely on self-defense, and your response must be proportional. If someone punches you, you can't pull out a deadly weapon like a gun and shoot them. You can only use the amount of force necessary to eliminate the threat. You can only use the amount of force necessary to eliminate the threat of harm to you. Once the threat of harm is gone, you can no longer
the threat of harm is
continue
them being dead.
No. If that's not the case, that's called murder.
No, it's not. If I get punched in Texas, if you punch me and I pull out a gun and shoot you, I'm well within my rights. Stand your ground.
That's not stand your ground.
Definitely in Texas, 100%.
That's absolutely the law in Texas. I can do that. That's like not even a debate. Like I don't know why you're debating that. Like
like I talked about, so it does depend state by state, but also just like again, a court trial can go anyway. So I talked about that prank guy. He was literally just shoving his phone in another guy's face, didn't put his hands on him, and the guy pulled out a gun and shot him.
It's even worse than that. The dude was walking the dude was being obviously obnoxious and like playing the phone. It was a dumb prank. And from when I watched the video, like the guy with the phone was like kind of walking away a little bit when the dude pulled out the gun and shot him. Like it was like, geez.
Yeah. They were.
to be fair to that dude, there's a lot of videos of people like getting in people's face with the phone, and then all of a sudden another guy coming and knocking him out. The guy could have thought that was about to happen to him.
But like the fact that it went down to a jury decision, like it means it could have gone either way.
Bang bang, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, like look, when people look at me weird, that could be an indication that like somebody might jump out of nowhere and punch me in the face. Like there's a level of like reasonable threat analysis. I don't know why
totally.
the jury decided what they did there. I mean, and maybe there's something we didn't see. But that was like, I'm a big self-defense guy. That was a weird. According
to Simmer Law, which is a law firm in Texas, subchapter D of the Texas Penal Code, Chapter 9, it's the statutes of protection. It's the statutes of protection of property. Then it goes on for subchapter C is first, protection of person. Subchapter D is protection of property, which are both protected in Texas. You can protect person or property, but you don't have the duty to retreat or have a line in the sand law, but you have to respond with a force that is you can't just use excessive force. It says again. That is excessive. To get punched and then you shoot and kill them. That's excessive force.
I mean, there's lots of cases in Texas where people have been getting jumped or punched and they pull out a gun and shoot people.
No, you just said punched. We're not talking about jumped. We're talking about punched. One time.
Listen, Papa. I said punched or jumped. I don't know.
No, you just said punched. Roll it back. Roll it back. You just said punched.
All right,
roll it back.
Clip it and show us back. Once again, we're gonna have to prove Sprout wrong about not being able to listen.
No, you're gonna eat a piece of humble pie right here.
All right, let me just.
You just said punched. That's all you said.
I said punched or jumped.
No,
Jumped
you
or
said punched.
Okay. I'll find it here in a second. We'll clip it and go back
In
here.
real time.
Yeah, well, somebody clip
Roll
it.
it back.
Go back. Somebody clip that. Roll it back. Post the clip. It'll be all right. Sprout.
I think he said lightly slapped. That's
I
what I
agree.
heard.
If you're getting jumped, then you can use lethal force.
I think he said like all of the above. Honestly,
Hit him with a wet
at some
noodle.
point.
That's what I think I heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
I think Gibbs said something about if someone looks at you funny.
That would be Lactoid that said that.
Yeah, I brought that up as an example to.
I was just messing around.
Phone case. I wanted to ask. So we got teachers that have tasers. I think we all agreed with that. Armed with tasers.
No, I would say I'd rather have cops who have tasers on the property instead of giving the tasers to the teachers.
Okay. Well, what about a scenario where a fight's happening in a classroom? Like, depending on the size of the school, I mean, how many resource officers are we going to have close enough to intervene in a fight that can go down with a span of 45 seconds?
I would say honestly, I could say reasonably, you'd have like one teacher in every like kind of section of the building. You know what I'm talking about? Like one on the top floor, right side, one on, and like I think it depends on the side of the school, but I think within like a couple of seconds, if people are like screaming and it's a huge commotion, that police can come running in pretty quickly.
So I don't know how feasible that is. I think that high schools and middle schools can be pretty big, and like fights can happen really quickly. I think the teacher who's in the classroom observing the whole thing is probably best poised to intervene. And I think it's not unreasonable that perhaps we arm all teachers with tasers, get them taser training for multiple reasons. The first reason is, they can protect themselves and stop students from hurting each other. But also with a taser, it gives them something to defend students with, right? In case like some kind of intruder or stranger happens to like break into the school and is threatening people. Obviously, it's not as effective as a firearm for like a school shooting situation, but it's better than nothing at the very least, right?
What about like a kendo stick? Are we okay with kendo sticks? Those don't cause permanent harm, and that'll immediately. Kendo stick, like they use, like the little thing you see with the WWE. Sometimes you see in a lot of martial arts. It's the thing. It's like a bean pole. You hit them with it.
And it's what Nightwing uses.
Yeah,
Those are Eskrima sticks. Those are Eskrima sticks. Hold up.
So Lactoid,
are you talking about Daredevil? Like his sticks?
Lactoid.
No, those are Eskrima sticks. He's talking about a kendo stick.
Yeah.
He's talking about a kendo stick. It's kind of like a fake sword or like a bamboo sword.
Yeah, and it opens up when you smack them, so it doesn't cause permanent damage. You smack them, and they like stop, and it hurts real fucking bad. Sandman from the WWE used to carry one around, and he smacked the shit out of people. Like, what about that? That would be less permanent harm than a taser. You just smack them a couple times, they're gonna stop. I don't know anybody get hit by a kid.
It's basically just like practice swords.
Sure, I guess.
We want them to. Are we advocating for teachers and resource officers to start carrying practice swords?
They're like big rulers, right? Back in the day, they used to smack them with rulers. It's like that, but bigger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sprout, you were about to agree with me about the tasers, I think.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I would be very hesitant with tasers, mainly for the reason that if a student were to, because this would take a lot of training for teachers, and I don't think the training would be done well or in a expedient time. But I would fear that students would be able to take that taser off the teacher, and then you have a student armed with a taser. That would be my hesitancy to having teachers carry tasers, is students disarming the teacher of the taser and then utilizing that taser.
Sure, but like even if the student gets a hold of the taser, it'd be bad, but like it wouldn't be the end of the world. It's a less than lethal weapon. They're not going to like start killing students with a taser.
It's not less than lethal. It's
I like Ranger's idea in chat. Use tranquilizer darts.
It's not less than lethal. It's less.
Wait,
lethal.
I have a. Wait,
It's a good idea.
What do you guys think of this weapon? I'm going to post it in chat.
Those could be deadly too, though. Those are deadly too. Some people have bad reactions to tranquil stuff.
Just flood the classroom with laughing gas. There's like a like an emergency button, like a fire extinguisher, except it's just gas. Like it makes all the students go to sleep.
Oh, nice.
I think we found the answer then, people. Go ahead, Emma.
Wait, there's a.
Nope.
I just wanted. There's a. Gibbs was talking about like a
The teacher's
what the
choice.
stick thing. If you want to hit something with someone to like make it hurt and to get them to stop, there's something called a stinger. It's like it's basically like a kind of cord on a string, and if you hit with someone, I don't know how it worked, but apparently if you just like tap someone with it, like it hurts like insanely bad.
Let me give you an example where somebody doesn't have to use physical force, where they be shooting them and be justified, right? Say I dressed up in a Klan outfit and I started chasing a black guy. Would they be
Wow.
black guy be just? Would the black guy be justified to shoot me because he thought feared for his life?
I would say he would have to warn you first.
Okay, absolutely. I agree with that. Hey, don't chase me. I'm going to shoot you. Oh, bang bang. Is that okay?
I would say yeah, if you warned him.
Oh, okay. So then you don't have a problem with them not even having physical force before you shoot them.
Generally, my take is like if you're gonna use like some form of force, like even lethal force, like as long you just need to warn them.
Well,
first.
you're just gonna warn them first. So okay, so you're okay with shooting the kids as long as you warn them first.
Well, if they give you like if that's absolutely necessary, like if someone's life is in danger, then yeah, you would need.
Well, Hammer's a lot more hardline than I
need.
thought on this issue. All right, he's ready to shoot children if you warn the kid,
Well,
don't punch me in the face, I'll cap you. And they're like, the kid
no.
punches
I said
he's
if your
ready.
life is in danger. I
Yeah,
don't think
well,
if
you don't
the
know.
kid's about to punch you.
If you're like a five,
that's not what I'm talking about.
If you're
That's not what I'm
5'4",
talking
130-pound woman who's in her 40s and a 6'6" football player that's got an SEC scholarship, it says I'm gonna beat the shit out of you for taking my phone, and you say no, don't do that. Do you think that woman's life is in danger?
Not to the necessary extent. No, I actually don't.
Okay, so what if she dies? Who would be responsible then? Would the school or the student? Should we charge the student with first-degree murder at that point? Because she
Not
warned him,
first-degree
so
murder,
now it's
no.
meditated. Now
It'd
it's
be second-degree
meditated.
murder.
Why would it be second degree? She warned him, so it's meditated now. Now he's
Well, no,
thought
it's
about
not.
it. I'm
I
gonna
don't know
kill.
if
I'm
that
gonna
would be
She didn't warn
sufficient
him.
levels of premeditation.
No. You can't warn someone that you're gonna kill me, and then it's premeditated. That doesn't really even make sense.
What if they have a heart condition? And you tell them, I have a heart condition. If you attack me, I'm gonna die.
I still don't think that qualifies. No. Again, you'd have to prove intent to kill, and I think that like knowing that you are.
What if the guy says, I'm gonna kill you, bitch, and then comes in and starts swinging? Is that intent to kill at that point?
Yeah, that's
Probably
first
not,
degree.
because
That's
a
premeditation.
general. No, I would say no because that's a general term. Like
No, that's
saying, "I'm gonna kill
premeditation.
you."
No, because
I
you
don't
could.
know,
You
that's
could
Sounds like a lot of people that don't. This sounds like a lot of people that
because
don't understand
people
law.
just generally say that.
Wait. Premeditation can happen in an instant. It doesn't need to be an. It doesn't.
In an
It doesn't.
instant.
It
I don't
doesn't.
think that's how premeditation works.
No,
The
premeditation.
whole point of
again,
premeditation.
No, that is
premeditation-
that. No, that is. No, wait, stop. That is how it legally works. It does not take long, and you can have it in a couple seconds. Now it's premeditated murder. It does
feel
not
like-
take long at all to
I'm
get
pretty
get
sure-
premeditated.
I'm willing to bet that the bar for premeditation on murder is very, very, very high. Like if you purchased a gun and like were texting someone that like I'm gonna kill that guy, I think that's premeditation.
Okay, let me throw
I
another
think anything
scenario.
else-
This is one that I've seen happen in high school. There was a woman I knew that was pregnant, and a student punched her. If the baby had died, would she have been justified using lethal force or some kind of body slam to stop the student from punching?
Okay, in order for it to be considered premeditated, there has to be some degree of contemplation.
Well, I know
would
you
say-
think so. I could.
Well, I would
Again,
say
that could
okay,
be
actually,
seconds before.
I would say actually that's a tough one, but I would say it's different because like
Why is
if
it
you're-
different?
if you're beating on someone, the chances that they'll die aren't high enough to meet that bar. But if you're beating on someone who's pregnant, the chances that they'll have a miscarriage is much higher. So I would say it does meet that bar. Yes.
Interesting.
What if the teacher has like osteoporosis or like some kind of like brittle bone disease, and the student is like large, and really like with one punch you can kill an elderly person? I think
Mhm.
like this elderly person probably has way more of a fear of death, like way more reasonable fear of death than like, I don't know, me if I was like facing an unruly student, right? Because if I get punched, yeah, it's gonna suck, probably not gonna die. But if I was like 70 with arthritis and osteoporosis, I very well might die, right?
So murder.
Yeah, I
so
think- yeah.
murder. So murder in the first degree. It takes 3 elements. The first element is intentional killing of a
Yes.
human. The second
Tell the lawyer.
element. The second element is with time to reflect upon that killing, and the third element is doing so in a cool and dispassionate manner.
What law school
So
do you go to?
you could have time to reflect upon that killing within several seconds before you kill that person. Premeditated murder does not mean that you took
Why
like
don't we
a week
ask, why don't we
to
ask
play
the
this
person we're
out.
It's
talking
not
And
going
like,
to happen.
But if we're talking
Why don't we
legally, you need to
ask
prove that, don't
an
you?
actual lawyer here what
I'm
the-
sorry?
what it is? Why don't we ask?
What'd you
an
say,
actual
Mr. Hammer?
lawyer? Why don't we ask
I
the
said,
actual lawyer?
I'm just gonna
court of
unmute
law,
you
actually-
that way I can hear
I'm
you.
gonna just
again,
mute you. I
so
mean,
you-
cool.
so
I'm just gonna
even
keep
though it's
talking until I get an answer. Hey, hold on, Hammer. Shh. Hey,
No,
why
go
don't
ahead.
we-
I'm still
hey,
listening.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm-
yeah, so
Hey, listen,
I'll
listen,
just talk
Scott.
over him. So
Cool.
in
Anyway,
a court of law,
I-
he said
la, la,
that you
la,
had
la,
to
la,
use
la.
3 different
Don't do
conditions.
this.
So
Yeah, okay,
wouldn't
dude,
you need
you know
to
what? I'm
prove
gonna
these
do the
things?
cricket
So
sound a bunch of
again,
times.
like
like
for
the
to
cricket
prove
sound.
premeditation, you do need to prove a state of mind, right? And that's incredibly difficult.
So you would
We
need
literally
to
have a
prove
lawyer
that
here.
they
Why don't
had
we ask
time
the
to
fucking
reflect
lawyer?
upon that killing. Again, that could be seconds prior to the killing. That they had time, like they
What law
pointed
school
their
did
gun,
you
they
go to?
paused,
I'm in
and
law
then they
school
shot.
currently.
That's
He's a lawyer.
premeditated because
Where
of
did
that
you go to
pause.
law
They had
school?
the time to reflect on what they were
You didn't go to
doing,
law school.
and then they decided to go
This
forward
is
with
like
it
the
anyway.
WebMD
At that
doctors
point, it
trying to
becomes
teach us about,
premeditated.
But
hey,
if
this
you
is
want
like
to
the people
charge him, you
talking
have
about
to
natural
prove that he
remedies
used that
for
second to
polio.
actually take that consideration.
No,
don't
you
know
just
that that's what he was doing
You just
at the
have to
time.
convince a jury, and usually with
Sure,
these
but
types,
still.
usually with these types of cases, it's lesser included. So which typically means that if you don't find premeditation, then but you still find murder, you would find murder in the second degree, because the lesser is included. But
So,
that's typically
yeah.
what happens.
So with the Supreme Court definition of premeditation under which the case is called Robbie v. State. Look it up. Potentially, yes, you could like what you're talking about. Like it could be first degree murder if they can prove state of mind.
It's never gonna
Because
happen.
it's just not gonna happen. Because what it said, what the Supreme Court decided premeditation is when an individual contemplates for any length of time
Thank you, Mark
the undertaking of
Gamebot.
an activity, and then subsequently takes that action.
Okay, but that the small time in between killing in between you're deciding to do it, that can turn into premeditation in a court of law. It can. I've seen it happen to where they get charged with premeditated murder, and that it moves in that manner.
Here, let me give you a couple scenarios, Brad.
Like I said, typically in those cases, to secure the conviction, they have a lesser included in that situation to
Hey,
include
what law
second
school
degree.
did you go to? What law school did you go to?
I don't go to law school,
Oh,
but
Chris, I am in law
okay,
school.
cool.
He's a
I
lawyer,
don't give a
so
fuck
you're
because you've also said the state doesn't hold the burden, so I don't really care what law
you're
school you went
wrong.
to.
I mean, you
It
just don't
sounds
know
like
what you're
they're
talking
failing
about.
you. The state holds the burden.
It sounds like you
All
don't
right.
even know what you're talking about. So
The state holds. You
Cool.
said the state doesn't hold the burden, Gibbs. You said that. Okay,
you're literally
so-
saying nonsense words. The state
No,
doesn't hold the burden.
You literally said that. You literally
What
said
does that even mean? What does that even? The state doesn't hold the burden.
The state holds the burden to prove.
You're the only thing you're holding is both of these.
Gibbs,
I mean,
Gibbs,
what's your point?
Gibbs. I'm gonna see if I can get you to say it again. Does the state hold the burden of proof in a criminal case?
In a criminal case, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, they hold the burden of proof. But in a civil case, they don't.
You must have attended that class in between then and now. What were you saying?
What?
What were you saying, Lactoid?
I didn't even make sense. Bro,
Yeah.
listen, Papa.
Lactoid, what were you saying?
talking about
Okay,
things that are
going
beyond
back to being
your pay grade.
muted. I'm not gonna deal
Cool,
with you.
yeah,
this
be
battle.
muted, yeah.
All right, go ahead,
Cool, I'll
Lactoid.
mute you too. All right, cool. Then we're gonna both play that game.
This is one of
Lactoid, go
those
ahead.
days.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just talk over you the horse.
I can hear you. I can't hear
Oh
Gibbs.
yeah,
Go
cool.
ahead.
Yeah, cool. Hey, I got something for you.
Just talk over him. I can hear you.
Hey, how
Go
about
ahead.
just sit on it and spin? That'll be good for your health. That's probably gonna be more educational. You can learn what a prolapsed anus feels like. Maybe that's something you can
Are
learn.
you gonna
about.
ask the
How's that
question,
sound?
like
Well, that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily cause a prolapse anus.
It will once I'm done with it. It'll be real shoved far up there. We'll be looking for that stick that he's got shoved so far up his ass. You know what? Maybe it'll go
Okay, I
good with
guess
his acne
that-
program.
guess Lactoid's not gonna ask the question.
Face picker this whole time. So like I don't know.
Too much from what Gibbs is
We want
saying.
to hear about Gibbs's professional knowledge.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to get the point out.
Go ahead,
But
I'm sorry.
yeah, you're good. It's difficult to explain this, but like premeditation does require something, right? Like
Mhm.
Something provable. So if I'm like, I'm gonna kill, like you say something that insults me, and I say like, I'm gonna kill you, and then I pull out a gun and shoot the person. This is gonna be second-degree murder all day, right? I said I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna have no luck arguing that's premeditated, right? Because
Okay, but no,
it's based on the situation that I was in. I wasn't like, if I wasn't put in that situation, I wasn't going to kill that person at that time, right? It was purely motivated by like the immediate facts, and I didn't really think about it. When it comes to first degree, like if I'm like, I'm gonna kill him tomorrow, I'm gonna like hunt him down and like gut him. That's first degree.
So, Lactoid, have you seen the video of the shooting that happened in, I think it was like a Mexican restaurant, where the guy comes in and the guy fires off a first volley of shots. The guy the shooter, the guy who initially had the gun falls down, and then he goes up. He fires another volley of shots first off, and then goes up, and then as he's pulling the gun out, he like aims the gun in his head, pauses for like a second, and then pulls the trigger like execution style to the head.
If it's a video that I think you're talking about, I don't agree with that series of events. You're talking about the one with the guy who was like robbing the place, and he had the gun in his hand, and he was walking around like, and then
he was walking back and forth down the aisle,
down the aisle, and then he walked past the dude who was in a booth, and the guy in the booth pulled out the gun, shot him a few times.
First volley of shots.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then he gave a second. Then he gave a second volley of shots.
Yeah.
And then when he was going up to retrieve the gun, which was not in his hand, it was over underneath the seat over here. He pointed the gun at the guy's head, and then for like a second just left it pointed at the guy's head, and then pulled the trigger execution style.
That's the fact I don't agree with you. From my recollection of the video, he dropped the gun within arm's reach. It was in front of him, so or just like to the side of him. So the gun was absolutely within reach. That I think is the strongest argument for shooting him the way he did.
I'll pull up the video just so you
Wait,
can.
was he charged with first degree?
Yeah, just so you can
charged.
Recollect your.
Oh, okay.
It was in Texas. The grand jury decided not to charge him. In any other state, this would have been charged.
Well, they were defending the hero. The guy shot the guy in the back.
The gun was absolutely within arm's reach.
Ohio wouldn't have been charged. I can tell you that now.
Yeah, not in my state either.
Are you talking about the one where he shoots the guy after he's been shot in the back a few times in Texas? Mm-hmm. That guy was a goddamn American hero. I don't understand why you want to charge that man. He literally killed a criminal and saved the justice system money and saved us tax dollars. Why are we letting these degenerates just keep doing things and reoffend? Terrible. I feel like he had a moral obligation to make sure that guy didn't reoffend, if anything.
That's not literally not true, but I mean, not
absolutely,
legally, but.
I mean,
not legally.
Yeah, sure, legally. Apparently, Texas thought he did.
That's not why Texas let him off, obviously.
I mean, it's probably some of it.
I mean, based off of what I just saw, I mean, like, just from the clip on that one, that seems like it would qualify under stand your ground laws. That's why he wouldn't have been charged.
Thank you.
So there's again that's not the full video. I'm having trouble finding the full video because most of this is news reporting on it, and the news reporting cuts out any time that he's shooting. So it's somewhat difficult to find the full video. I'm working on it, but it's somewhat difficult.
I did find the full video at one point, and I remember having. We did a panel on it. I remember.
Yeah, we had a panel, didn't we?
Yeah, we did have a panel on this, and I remember like we analyzed the video, and the key argument for me was the reason why the dude was justified in doing the double tap was because when the dude fell down, the gun fell down within reach.
So I'm not talking about the second volley of shots. I'm talking about that final shot that was execution style. He had already picked up the other guy's gun. He had the other guy's gun in his hand.
That didn't happen.
And then okay, there is. It did.
You're telling me he had the other guy's gun in his hand.
Watch.
Yeah, he kicks it away.
Watch.
Well, we can't watch this on Twitch, so you got to send it to me.
No, it's just a clip. It's just a single picture.
Yeah, we're not going to watch that.
We can't do this on Twitch.
Okay, stop. Lethe does not need to pull it up.
I'm not going to play it.
But I'm streaming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're all streaming.
Let me take a screenshot real quick.
I mean, I can watch it because I can watch it in my YouTube because it's not going to show up on.
I'm posting. Slide the YouTube video.
One second. I'm posting the screenshot.
I posted it in the chat.
There you go. It's the screenshot. You can see the gun in his. You can see
doesn't show much.
Okay, again, I'm just sent a screenshot. I know the video doesn't show much because it's a news station. They don't show that part. So you can see the gun in his left hand. You can see him pointing execution style at the person laying on the ground.
Here, just send me the video and I'll watch it on my phone.
Again, it's a still frame that the news has, but that's.
Yeah, I don't see a gun. That's the problem.
Do you don't see the gun in his left hand?
No, I don't. That's why I want to see the video.
Okay.
So we
it's a
moved
little
on
bit
to like
blurry,
whether
yeah.
stand your ground is a viable thing. Is that what we're debating?
No,
now?
this is not about stand your ground. This is about excessive force.
Well, which is what exactly? Because we've already established earlier that if I dressed
my
up in a
gosh.
Klan outfit and started chasing a black dude, then it wouldn't be excessive force to shoot me, would it?
I'm never coming to visit you, Gibbs.
Please, you'll be having a good time with Papa. Don't worry. We'll be with the strippers and the alcohol.
Here we
We'll be
go.
with
I got the full
Klan.
video. Reddit to the rescue. Here's
I'm
the full
trying to
video.
make this clear so that if a Klansman shows up, we can shoot him. That's what
Fair.
I'm trying. We're fighting for
Anti-racist
my
Gibbs.
friends.
So
Anti-racist.
there's the first volley of shots. The
In fact,
second
the
volley
people
of
that are
shots.
not pro that, those are the real
Then
racists.
he picks up the gun, pulls, shoots, execution style.
Okay.
Okay, my Reddit's not loading.
I just started watching it right now.
You can see him pick up the gun from where the bench is, and then he sits up, back up, shoots him and shoots again, execution style, as he's walking away.
I would say the only reason why that it is excessive is probably because he was probably already dead.
Yeah.
Well,
his family didn't need a closed casket. You know what I'm saying?
This would,
They didn't raise it properly.
in my opinion, this would turn into first degree if it was outside the state of Texas.
The guy was a criminal. The guy was a criminal committed.
It doesn't matter. Criminals still have a right to their life.
No. What?
You still have to attempt to preserve their life.
No, absolutely
Yes.
not. If you commit a
And
criminal,
he's standing their ground.
let me give you an example why you're wrong. Let me give you an example why you're wrong. In Florida, there was a child that shot two criminals, and the third one escaped, and one of them died, and they stood. The other one that escaped was caught, and they charged the one that escaped with murder.
With felony murder. Yes.
Why did they do that? Why did they do that?
With felony murder? Because
Because
they were
if you
committed,
commit-
because in the commission of a felony, someone died.
Right. Okay. So that means that you don't have a right to life if you commit a crime. And
You do
get
have a right to
killed
life
by
if you
doing
commit a
it.
crime.
Absolutely not.
Yes, you do.
Absolutely not. If you commit a crime, you do not have a right to life. That is the
And he's in law school, guys.
You know, you
I mean-
absolutely do not. If you commit a
Wait.
crime and you're killed, and someone else, you commit a crime with a group, that literally proves you do not have a right to life. That is
He's in law
why.
school.
Okay, I don't want to
I know, I am.
So
I mean, clearly you don't know what you're talking about.
crimes? What crimes specifically? Like, do you lose your right to life?
I mean, it really depends. Any of them, really. If you commit, say you're robbing a house.
No.
you just commit
Obviously,
burglary.
not any of them. Like,
Well,
if
so-
you pirate, if you
listen,
pirate
listen.
a movie offline,
Okay,
then I don't think
Listen,
that-
if you walk, if
obviously, right.
you J cross, right, you just lose your right to life.
Well, you could, because if you're jaywalking, you get hit by a car. Whose fault is that?
Okay,
if I
no, that's not
If I run
intentional.
across, well,
That's
then
not
hold on. If I
intentional.
run across the street, if I,
I
run
think
across
that's
the
called an
freeway,
accident.
I think that's
if
obviously not true.
if I jaywalk across a freeway and I get hit by a car, who's at fault?
That's called an accident, or it's called
No,
suicide.
no, it's not called an accident.
It is called an
Whose
accident. It's
fault
not called murder. It's not called manslaughter.
Yeah, but you don't have a right to life. You're not going to charge.
You
charge
do have
me-
a right
No, so
to
you're-
life.
No,
You
no,
can
wait,
accidentally lose your
No, no,
life
no,
and still have a
you're
right
not-
to it.
You're not going to charge the car going
I
70
don't
on
think
a
anybody
freeway.
technically has a right
Wait,
to life.
Gibbs,
He's in law
Gibbs,
school,
so-
guys. He's in law school.
Gibbs, if okay, say
No,
I
you're
someone
don't think
is
the Constitution
jaywalking.
gives anybody a
No,
right
Gibbs,
to life.
say someone is jaywalking and a police officer who's watching on the sidewalk like shoots him in the back. Like, that's obviously wrong, right?
Well, it depends. It depends if they're like, I would say maybe they were doing what's good for the good of the public safety. If the guy is jaywalking and he's running across a freeway and he's going to impede traffic and cause a 10-car pileup where multiple people die, then maybe he did the duty. I don't know if I've ever seen that legally played out.
I'm
But,
pretty
like,
sure
I
that
mean,
wouldn't play
arguably-
out. What
I mean,
if I
it could,
torrent
though.
like Marley and Me offline? Should I
Okay,
be
I
like
mean-
put to death?
I mean, probably not. But I mean, I'm saying that that doesn't mean you have a
Okay.
right to life. There's a difference between right to life and what Sprouticus the dumbass is saying.
Well, no, I would say that if I do something like that and I'm killed by a police officer over it, like, no, yeah, obviously they're in the wrong. Obviously, I probably still have the right not to be killed by a police officer, right?
I mean, it depends. If you're committing a crime, I would say that it depends on what is going on. I mean, you're definitely
Well-
forfeiting your rights to some degree if you're
I
committing
would
crime.
say, like, if you're committing an armed crime, no matter what the armed crime is,
Sure.
whether it's robbery or any crime that would be escalated via the fact of you holding a weapon, I would say that at that point, in most states, or in any state that has a stand your ground law, you pretty much forfeit your right to life.
Okay, but vigilante, you don't necessarily forfeit your right to life.
Oh, necessarily not.
One stop. Just stop, please, for 1 second. I'm talking to vigilante. Vigilante. You don't necessarily forfeit your right to life, because you can die because of the actions you made. Doesn't mean you forfeit the right to life. It just means the other person took action to defend themselves until the threat is neutralized. But once the threat is neutralized, there's preservation of life, and you have to attempt to preserve life. You cannot cause further action to ensure that the person is dead. They have the right to life in that manner. And when cops show up, they have to give medical aid to the individual that committed the crime, because of preservation of life. They still retain the right to life. However, you have the right to self-defense and to use equalizing force to neutralize the threat.
Sprout, can I ask you real quick? So I watched the video and I found with sound, there definitely is at the end kind of a questionable part where he's reaching down and like grabbing the gun, and he lets off like a ninth shot.
He picks up the gun first.
It's so
I'm pretty
close,
sure.
right? It's like he's picking it up and like pulls the trigger at the same time. Like it's super close. I guess my question is, what were you?
Well, to be that fair, that last one could have been an accident.
It could have been, but like my question, like I remember, so you brought this situation
That's a good
up.
defense.
What was your point for bringing up this? Situation?
My point was that 1 second. I would say 1 second. I don't have it clocked here, but whatever. The 1 second he had the gun aimed at the person who's obviously still laying there, like probably already dead. But he had the gun aimed at his head for a second, and then decided to pull the trigger. You can see the hesitation, which in my mind would bring into you now know what you're doing. You're now thinking about your actions, and you decide to do it anyway, which would fall under premeditated murder.
No.
That would be premeditated.
I disagree.
This is legal expert Sprout.
Yeah. So first of all, they refused to charge the guy, probably for political reasons. I understand it. They probably could have if they really wanted to, because of that last shot. The last shot was everything else before then I think was completely defensible. The last shot was on the line. It was pretty close. But in that situation in which somebody has a gun they're walking around with, and then you pull out a gun, and there was like essentially you were shooting a guy multiple times.
No, you have his gun now.
Right, you have his gun now, but like I just don't see a premeditation like argument working there, because the defense is going to be like, it was the heat of the moment. My thoughts were racing. I didn't know if this guy like was going to jump up and get me, if he was like going to pull out another gun. Like everything was racing a million miles a second, and I shot one extra time. That's going to be such a solid defense against any kind of premeditation.
Okay,
charge.
But that's the defense. I would go
Super convincing.
I would, okay, I understand that. I would go to say that the state would still charge the person with first degree murder, and then have lesser included in the case. So first degree murder, second degree, lesser included.
I just don't see it. They could have charged him with something. I don't disagree. I can't see a world in which they charge him with first degree.
Here, I put it this way: do you think a judge would throw out a first degree charge?
Yeah, absolutely.
With a first degree charge with a lesser included? Do you think a judge would throw that out?
I think it's possible. I think
that a judge would throw it out.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I also think it's I think it's much more likely the prosecution, like the DA's office, just wouldn't bring a first degree murder charge. I think that's probably what would happen. I think they would probably bring at most a second degree homicide charge, and that's at most. It would probably be some kind of manslaughter given the circumstances he was under. But they really just decided not to bring any charges. Like, I understand what you're saying, and the line between like premeditation and like not premeditated murder is somewhat gray. There's always going to be like
It's blurry.
cases.
I agree.
Yeah, it's blurry, right? There's always going to be line cases, and so there are circumstances you could like give me where it could be really hard, right? It could be really hard to determine, okay, is this premeditated? Is it not? Like, what kind of influencing factors were at play? But like, just my read on this situation is, I just can't see a first degree homicide charge sticking from either jury. I don't see the prosecution bringing it, and I think on appeal, he would have a really good argument for saying, like, this is, the jury messed up here if a jury would actually find him guilty of first degree homicide.
So, Blackwood, I want to take it back a little bit. I have questions about, as a lawyer, I have questions about, like, is what Gibbs is saying right? Do you inherently lose your right to life because you're committing a crime?
No.
That's what I thought. Is there any, like, crimes that like, automatically, or does that ever happen at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right,
it's
so
only
let's
self-defense.
wind this down and let's get to closing statements on this topic and try to run through topic 2, because damn it, Lactoid.
It's not a
Oh,
thing.
that was good. All right, so closing statement. Let's go with Vigilante. If you can figure out how all this wrapped around to kids, you go ahead and fill us in.
I really don't think the last little bit has wrapped it around to kids at all. I mean, like, and unless you're Gibbs, and because I'm guarantee you Gibbs would argue that the way that it wraps around is like when the kids are acting out, they lose their right to life. But I mean, yeah, but yeah, we got way off topic here.
A little bit. All right, Sprout.
I don't see any issue with this law. I think that there's certain restraints that only should to be done by trained individuals. And again, like I said, teachers being trained in these types of techniques is the exception, not the rule. We make laws based off of the rule, not the exceptions, which is good. That's how we should make laws. We should make laws based off the exceptions. So I see nothing wrong with this. I think that this is actually probably good legislation. And yeah.
Thank you for that. Hammer.
Wait, I think I can wrap it all around. I think that honestly what we've come to the conclusion of, all of us, is that I don't think that children have any more rights to life or like to be protected from the consequences of their actions. It doesn't matter if they're like a 16-year-old or a 14-year-old. If they are attacking you and they are violent, then like the same use of force that we would use on an adult would apply to a child. And that is why it's important to have trained professionals who can restrain and, even take out children if necessary.
All right. Thank you for that. Lactoid.
So I'm sorry for bringing this up at the end, but I just thought of this, and I think I'm right. So, the article talks about how these rules were rescinded following the George Floyd death that happened back in 2020. And there was an analysis I saw where a couple, actually, where that cities with BLM protests and that subsequently rolled back police, the ability for police to engage in certain physical acts of restraint or force or any of that. You did see in the cities that had these protests and these actions, you saw a reduction in police killings. You did. But you also saw a corresponding increase of homicides generally. And the corresponding increase was substantially higher than the amount of people that were killed by the police. And the idea, the hypothesis was police officers are demoralized and they're not going out and stopping crimes and they're not enforcing rules proactively because they're concerned of, if I do so, I'm going to get in trouble, so I'm not going to do it. I think the analogy here is almost like, it's very close with teachers, right? Teachers are sort of the cops of the school. And when you limit what teachers can do in enforcing the rules of the school, you're going to get less enforcement. And the only concern I have is when this limited enforcement leads to the higher quote unquote murder rate. I guess in the school, it would be kids victimizing other kids or kids victimizing teachers, right? Kids becoming violent and becoming unruly and causing massive disruptions. There needs to be some kind of balance reached here. In the same way, we can't just say, well, it feels good to say, well, teachers shouldn't do this because they're kids. Well, but we have to also recognize the reality of you're put in charge of a bunch of people who could kill you if they wanted to. And they're likely going to get in fights, and they're likely going to hurt each other, and they can cause serious damage to each other. And you are in a position where you have to stop that. This bill, I think, does this to some extent. This is why it's so overwhelmingly popular. It was almost unanimous, almost completely bipartisan, in giving schools the right to enforce these rules. I would like to see it expanded to include teachers as well. I think they're going to be in the best position to protect themselves and students.
Thank you, Lactoid. And Gibbs.
Yeah, so as one of the only accredited doctors here on the panel, I'd like to say that I think it's very important that we look at our education system, and we already include physical fitness requirements and physical fitness like education requirements within universities. So all we should do is require for people to be teachers to take some sort of accredited class at the university level, such as judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or whatever. So and then thus forth allow the teachers to defend themselves and properly de-escalate these students with proper physical force in a manner that they won't harm them. Because if we train them properly via BJJ or judo or any of the other corresponding martial arts with accredited teachers, this will, one, create more jobs. Two, it'll also allow them to safely de-escalate these situations, thus protecting children. Thus, it'll be able to help in things like active shooter situations, and it'll protect the teachers from these heinous attacks by these thugs and hoodlums that their parents didn't raise properly. That is my final thoughts on it.
We got the word hoodlums in, so my bingo card is full. All right, so on to the second topic. Is this social media ban infringing upon the freedom of speech of youths? Should freedom of speech have an age restriction? Social media ban for minors less restrictive in Florida lawmaker's second attempt. Tallahassee, Florida. Less than a week after Republican Governor Ron DeSantis vetoed a social media ban for minors, Florida lawmakers sent him a new version on Wednesday that's expected to withstand the scrutiny. The House passed the bill on a vote of 109-4, completing Republican Speaker Paul Renner's top priority for the 60-day session that ends Friday. The bill would ban social media accounts for children under 14 and require parental permissions for 15 and 16-year-olds. We're not opening a Pandora's box, we're closing one, said Republican Senator Tyler Sirois, who sponsored the bill. The harm that it is causing to our children is documented, and it is severe. DeSantis vetoed what would have been one of the country's most far-reaching social media bans for minors on Friday, but told lawmakers he supported the concept of the bill and worked with Renner on new language. The original bill would have banned minors under 16 from popular social media platforms, regardless of parental consent. Renner said that after the vote, that the bill will literally save kids' lives if it survives legal challenges. We know that the social media is the main platform for sexual crimes against children, he said. We know that it's a place where they are bullied online, where their self-image is torn down online. It leads to major mental health issues, contemplation of suicide, acts of self-harm, spikes in anorexia, and the list goes on and on. Several states have considered similar legislation. In Arkansas, a federal judge blocked enforcement of the law in August that requires parental consent for minors to create social media accounts. Supporters in Florida hope this bill will withstand legal challenges because it would ban social media formats based on addictive features such as notification alerts and autoplay videos rather than on their content. So let's start with Vigilante on this.
Yeah, I think any notion of this, or I think banning minors from social media is probably the wrong approach. Even if there was actually studies showing that social media negatively affects their mental health, which there is not. The NIH did a review of all of the studies claiming that studying this, there is a correlation between mental health issues and social media. There's no proof that social media actually contributes to mental health issues. But even if there was, I think this would still be I don't necessarily think this would be the right answer because like there's also that correlation between mental health issues and social media use with adults. So it'd be like it's kind of pointless. The only real issue that they kind of mention here is like the amount of like the use of social media for stuff for basically being used by pedophiles, and that is an actual problem. And I think what they should legally be doing to fix that is kind of segregate social media segregate social media and from like minors and adults. Basically have the servers have the social media companies set up the servers. That way it's minors can only see stuff that's posted by other minors. Adults can only see stuff posted by adults. They can't see. That's probably the best way to do it.
All right, Sprout.
Yeah. So we don't have quite the ability to control that, at least state by state, to where each state has different restrictions on like what children can see in social media. But there are demonstrated negative effects of social media for children. According to national survey, 33% of girls 11 to 15 feel addicted to social media. Study shows that children younger than 11 years old who use Instagram and Snapchat are more likely to have problematic digital behaviors. Then there's the body image concerns that shows that 46% of teens, 17 years old said social media made them feel worse about their bodies. There's cyberbullying with more than 64% of teens reporting that they've often or sometimes exposed to hate-based content. And then there's online predators. Nearly 6 out of 10 teen girls say that they've been contacted through social media platforms by a stranger in a way that makes them feel uncomfortable. So now we have those in. There is obviously greater good to applying an age limit to this to ensure that kids too early in the development are not exposed to these things that can drastically change the way that they operate and the way that they see the world. So yeah, I think it's a decent thing to apply an age limit such as 14 to social media. To ensure that the harm to children isn't done, and not only that, it would more than likely get the teenagers or the preteens more actively in the community, and more actively like actually together as a group and in a community, and I think that would be more beneficial than social media is. Social media has shown very little. Especially in comparison of positive effects on children.
All right.
I think after what happened in Cincinnati this past weekend, we need teens less out in the open.
Damn it.
I don't know what you're talking about in Cincinnati, but okay.
I'll go with Hammer.
I'll send it.
Okay. So I disagree with this bill. I don't think it should be passed for 3 different reasons. One, I don't legally the freedom of speech, and also this kind of impedes on like it's a weird mix of freedom of speech and freedom of association. But that neither of those rights have an age limit, so I don't think this can be seen as constitutional. Number 2, the practical element we see with China, who limits what they can see on the internet, what the internet shows. People just find ways around it. Like when you connect the internet to the connect the limited internet to the normal internet, people find ways to break through those codes. There's really no way to enforce this. And third, on a personal level, yes, I see the benefits. Yes, it does create mental harm within teens. At the same time, I'm highly skeptical of parents Because yes, you should have ideally you would have a good relationship with your parents and they would teach you the right things, but obviously that's not going to happen all the time. So like limiting children to only or limiting them more so their world is more centered around who their parents are, how they are, the ideas of their parents, and not letting them stretch out more through social media, which is how teens do it now. I think that's very, very dangerous.
Right. And we have Samantha Savage in here now. Welcome to the show.
All right, cool, great. The age limit of 14, I think is too fucking low. I think we should raise the age limit to 18. And MC Hammer, MC fucking retard, whatever your name is, I don't give a shit. There's a way to enforce this. We can take a look at Korea when every time you have to log in, you have to have a card that's directly connected to like your social security number to be able to access the internet. That way, it also protects you and other people. If you want to act like an ass on the internet, they can revoke it. Anyway, I think that's fucking based. Anyway, so this age limit freedom of speech thing. All right-wingers should agree with me that we should keep kids off of social media platforms as much as possible to avoid them from being groomed by the LGBT Rainbow Coalition community, as well as interaction predators. So if you're going to say that freedom of speech has no age limit, then to be consistent on that hill, you have to say that it's perfectly fine for a grown adult to engage in a sexual conversation with a minor. So eat shit, die on that hill, but at least you're going to be dead. So I win. Next.
All right, let's go with Lactoid.
All right. So the legal challenges here are obviously going to be in the First Amendment when it comes to whether these kids have a right to be on social media, or more specifically, whether the government has a right to prevent them from being on social media, even with parental permission. When it comes to the actual, like, besides the legal challenges, do I think this is a good idea? I think so generally. I've been looking through, like, it was said that I apologize, by Vigilante, that there's not a causal connection established yet, and I'm looking through several meta-analyses.
Or the NIH, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm looking also at an NIH meta-analysis that, although you're right, you're going to have a lot of difficulty establishing definitively causation between social media use independently and depression. We know that there's a very strong association. And I think this meta-analysis went through all the studies, and for every hour somebody spends on social media, they're 13% more likely to be depressed, or have some kind of anxiety issue, which I think is pretty concerning. I think that I remember watching a documentary one time where when cigarettes were coming out to be dangerous, there's a linear correlation between cigarette usage and lung cancer. It's linear; they're tied directly. And the cigarette company's response was very reasonable. They said, "Well, correlation doesn't prove causation. It could just be that people more apt to get lung cancer choose to smoke cigarettes." You're technically right. We can't disprove that, but we can also use intuition a little bit to come to a conclusion as to, well, that could be true. But then why are we seeing these massive spikes in lung cancer that's super tied with cigarettes, and you're inhaling the smoke? Maybe it's tied. It seems pretty reasonable that it's tied together. I think we could probably do that analysis here, where we have a massive rise in depression and mental health issues generally. We have kids using social media way more often. We have social media use being correlated strongly with depression. And maybe the kids who are using social media are doing that in lieu of actual personal interaction or exercise or going out and experiencing the world, all of which we know is positively correlated with mental health. So, I understand the causation correlation point. I think it's reasonable at this point to assume, especially when we're dealing with the well-being of children, I think it's fair to assume that social media is probably harmful. And so I'd be okay with limiting it. An outright ban of all social media for anybody under the age of 18, I'd be opposed. But I think the Florida bill does a good job in, putting it at 14, which is young adolescent, and then with parental permission, allowing, exceptions up until 16, and then, whatever after that. I think this is pretty. If it survives legal challenges, I think it's a pretty good idea.
All right, Gibbs.
Yeah, so as Samantha said, as a conservative right winger, so pointedly pointed out here, I would like to agree with the statement that I don't necessarily have a problem with them putting a lock on the social media for children. A big reason for this is social media is causing the erosion of traditional American values and causing the pussification of men. I mean, we have clear examples of this on this panel. We can just look at a couple of people here like Sprouticus, where they're acting like total pussies all the time and crying and bitching and moaning and being pedantic. And we're seeing things like men not being able to get dates and all these things. And I personally blame social media for this. It's clearly causing these people to have all sorts of problems. Now, we also have a legal precedent, and Lactoid, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we have a legal precedent that certain places like schools, freedom of speech is not protected for children under a certain age or children in certain areas. So it looks to me like there might be a legal precedent for this already established that freedom of speech can be infringed upon for minors. So I don't necessarily have a problem with this, and it seems to be like Florida is trying to take steps to stop the erosion of the mental health of these children and stop the pussification of men in America.
I think Florida is trying to prevent people from becoming overweight people who never leave their chair and argue on Twitch for views. Like, pretty good, Florida.
Amen.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and
Preach
open up the
Preach on.
conversation's open. Do your thing.
One thing I neglected to add is, like, even independently of the mental health issues that come with social media, I think we're all pretty concerned with the fact that kids are so easily reached by adults on the internet, as opposed to perhaps without the internet if they're at home, right? Like, I don't have to worry. Let's say I had like a 10-year-old kid or something. I wouldn't have to worry the same amount of like some 40-year-old like sending him mail. And like, hey, come chat, send me pictures of your, like, it's like much harder. This kind of like social media facilitates that. We should all be skeptical of like mixed adult children spaces, right? This is generally something we should be concerned about.
That's why I said we need to kind of segregate the internet from like adults and children.
I also
That's
believe
fair.
in segregation. Yeah, I am also pro segregation.
Look, this is the only issue you'll ever hear me argue pro segregating anything, and it's this situation. Like, adults and children should not be able to interact on the internet at all.
Well, I mean, I got a question. What do you define as social media? Because I know we specifically want to keep it defined just as like the traditional, like TikTok, Facebook, or whatever. Or would something like Pornhub be considered social media? Because they have
Pornhub is but their primary function is not to like get people engaging socially. Their primary function is for you to watch a video and jerk the fuck off.
Exactly.
That's not social media. That's a porn site that has like messaging features, right? Where like the primary purpose of like MySpace, Facebook, these things were to network and like comment heavy, message heavy type vibes.
So the actual loss, the Supreme Court case that you were referring to, Gibbs, is yes, you can put restrictions on children, the First Amendment rights of children, but you can't just get rid of them. I think the specific statement was like, kids don't lose their First Amendment protections simply by walking into school, because it was a school case about like whether they could wear black armbands protesting the Vietnam War. So
let me ask you this, Lactoid. I already kind of know the answer, but we're just so you can flesh it out. In law, right, there's generally a concept that once you have one legal precedent, new legal precedents are established upon previous case law. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, you think, right? So in theory, one could take this and extrapolate it forward to develop some kind of more restriction on children, possibly.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, you could argue, because I mean, obviously at the time this was before social media, so like they didn't consider that.
Right.
I think you could we're going to see it happen, right? There's going to be legal challenges to this, and so we're going to see where the court takes it. I could see this going to the Supreme Court, right? Depending on how the lower courts rule, I could see it happening. And I'm curious to know, like, because the new scaled back version, I think one of the reasons why DeSantis scaled it back or would only accept a scaled back bill is because he was concerned about the legal challenges too, right? The stronger bill has a higher chance of getting overturned, but the new bill, now that it's 14-year-olds, it's a little bit easier to justify.
Well, do we have anybody here that's actually like pro unfettered, unregulated free speech? Do we have anybody in here that retarded willing to die on that hill?
for children.
Okay, just
No.
checking. Okay, I'm just checking.
I would probably agree with Vigilante that there should be like maybe some restrictions, like if we're talking about like direct messaging between like people, like if you have to register your age on a website.
How do you
like,
enforce that? But how do you enforce that, Mister? You can't enforce anything. How do you enforce that? Half of these kids that are on half of the kids right now on social media are on social media where you click, "Are you 13 or over?" Do you just click yes, dude? Like, are you like that's literally it.
I mean, I honestly don't think we can enforce it.
Okay. So then, like, what actual fucking measure do you think that we can do? Do you think we can do anything besides what South Korea does with the like attaching your social security card? Okay, which is based, by the way. Because then if you're asshole online, then no, great, no, that's great, right? Because say like you're online. Like, say we're here right now, and I give you like a credible threat of like, I'm going to go over to your house and fucking murder your entire like family of cats that are living under the stairs because I think you're a prick, right? I give you a credible threat. You can't like really track me, but you can get the like my online name, right? I can't hide behind an anonymous screen name, right? I can't hide behind this shit, right? Everything's gonna be attached to my social, right? So then I can be hereby like punished and lose my rights to the internet for a time being because I wanted to act like a fucking retard. This is a base thing, right? This is how we keep people accountable in the internet world. It's like the equivalent of getting punched in the face when you call your friend the N-word. And he says, don't do that, right? This is a punch in the face that you can do. There are ways we can force these things, right? However, like the ban on fucking people from being able to use like social media, which I think is like too soft. I think social media as a whole should be eradicated from society. Along with the whites, and that would be a good start. But I think social media is just a just general degenerate platform that just erodes everything in our fabric of society. It causes the fucking alphabet organization to be able to like groom people, allegedly. It causes hate groups to be able to groom people, allegedly. It causes gun groups and these militias to just start up and do things allegedly. It's nothing but trouble. And like, oh God, the amount of child porn prevalent on fucking Facebook or any meta platform, right? These social media platforms are just networking hubs for fucking pedophiles. So this Epstein Diddy shit could get cut in like fucking half, right? With the tiny hats off of fucking Facebook, far less child porn rings are going on. It's a win. Why stop at 14? Ban the platforms altogether.
No, I think that's kind of stupid. I would say if you want to.
Substantiate that argument.
You're not going to get people to stop using social media. I think.
Yes, you can. If it is banned, like they don't have a choice.
Then I guess, bro. No,
bro. Yeah, if it's banned, you don't have a choice. I mean,
stop fucking interrupting me. Jesus Christ!
What are you gonna do? Would you like some baby wipes? You can get the sand out of your fucking vagina.
Literally, all I'm saying is nobody is going to be okay with.
Hey, can I ask you a question, Sam? What about VPNs? Do you want to ban VPNs?
Okay, but like we as a society, right? Yeah. Not everybody okay is okay with like banning or being cocaine being illegal, right? But like it doesn't matter, right? What's better for society is what we should look at.
Not everybody.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great. That's wonderful. That's debatable in this day and age. Holy shit. Gen Z is a bunch of fucking degenerate coke addicts. Okay, I've seen TikTok.
Coke addicts.
They can't stop jerking off, and they wouldn't have to jerk off so much if they were on less coke.
Lord, let's be honest here. It's Adderall.
Vigilante. Nobody's talking to you right now.
That's not true. Don't worry about that. Don't worry.
Like in reality, right? It doesn't matter about what the people want. When you can understand what is better for society, we should take that option that is better for society. And I think that's perfectly understandable. I'm fine with being more authoritarian about it. Like, yes, this is harmful to society. It's causing rates of child pornography distribution to go up. It's causing rates of like suicide in young men and young women, like teens, preteens. It's causing body issues, body dysmorphia. It's teaching people horrible shit. They have access to communism and queer literature through the internet and social media. They have access to fucking pro-Hamas shit on social media. They have access to people that are going to teach them about like the joys of horsecock and why child pornography isn't that bad, Vosh. And like this would just be able to eradicate most of that, and that's a net positive for society. And anybody rallying, but my freedom of speech, but like this, but like nobody's gonna like. Well, fuck people. They're all retarded. Society's fucking retarded.
Before you answer, Hammer, can I ask Sam a question? Would you ban VPNs too? Just out of curiosity.
What's a VPN, dog? I don't hide on the internet.
All right, I like that answer.
Okay, so I have a question. So you basically want to like subvert people's right to democratic vote. and you want like that. You want people to just like that just to be implemented, right?
What democratic vote?
Well, if you're going to ban social media platforms through the government, then people are going to have to vote for that, right? Or people are going to have to at least.
Why would I care what the people think when the people are retarded? Why would I give a shit what they think or what they vote for? I know what's best.
Okay, then how are you going to do that?
I can enforce that. Okay. So here's the thing.
How are you going to enforce
we get a strong leader, okay, that doesn't take shit from these fucking disgusting, fucking degenerate socialist libcucks like AOC, right? These fucking fake rhinos, right? Sitting around in our fucking Congress and in our Senate, fucking not doing shit. All these people that are just fucking proverbially jerking off verbally for sound bites on Twitter to like, look, I own the libs, or look, I own the fucking rightoids, okay? Fuck these people. They are irrelevant. You get a strong leader with an executive order, and then you enforce the executive order with the right of the military, okay? We use that to enforce. And then people that don't want to obey, fuck it. They can face a wall. We need population control, okay? If we have all these immigrants coming in, right? We can kill the people that don't want to fucking go along with my social media ban.
Okay,
hold on. It's all related. It's all related.
Please.
It's all related. It's all. This is you're zoomed in too small.
I'm literally I'm going through a specific question.
If you would get off of social media and unplug from the Matrix, you would know this.
Let Hammer get his.
I would know this. Okay, no, I just want like a specific, literal line of logic. So, like, I understand what you're fucking. Like what world you're living in, okay? So a strong leader somehow gets elected, and he decides that he wants to pass laws that, or say, I want to pass executive actions that ban social media, ban whatever, the gays or whatever, and then Congress says that he doesn't have the authority to do that. So he says, okay, I'm going to make the military enforce it. Military says, well, no, we can't enforce things that are non-constitutional, even if the president says so. So what are you going to do then? There's
no way to say. I don't see any words about social media in the Constitution.
A president can't. They can't deprive people of a freedom of speech, and if the Supreme Court,
they're not depriving you of freedom of speech. You still have the freedom to walk outside and say whatever the fuck you want. No. They have the right to impose. Hey, this type of website is harmful for our society. They're not like
also have freedom of association.
They are not restricting. Cool, associate with these people IRL, right? You don't require some social media site to associate. Get a person's phone number, touch grass, eat ass. Okay. There's multiple ways. This is not restricting your freedom of speech. It's restricting you from going on a certain type of website, which has been deemed harmful for society.
That's remains to be seen. You have to get that through the Supreme Court.
Are you allowed to have a child? Are you allowed to have a child pornography website? Are you allowed to operate a child pornography website? Are you allowed to visit a child pornography website?
No, obviously.
Why?
Because that's not protected under freedom of speech.
Because it's deemed harmful, right? It creates harm.
Well, no,
right?
It's considered.
Really, it doesn't create harm. Okay, what is sexual? Why is it sexual abuse? Because it creates
type of harm.
Because it creates harm. Now, social media sites facilitate this same harm happening.
Yeah, but that's not
okay. So if it facilitates the same harm as just having a child pornography site, then it should be held to the same standard, since it's giving facilitation for child predators to create child porn and child sex trafficking rings. Right? We abolish social media, sex trafficking solved, and racism.
So this justification for banning child porn websites is that their express purpose is to do illegal things, essentially. The express purpose of, say, Facebook is not to do those, so they can't ban Facebook for
the express purpose. The express purpose of Craigslist wasn't to fucking engage in sex trafficking, but guess what? They took that shit down because it facilitated sex trafficking. Get shit on it.
Wayfair.
No, they have the right to. They have the right to require websites to mitigate their.
Oh shit! No way.
That's what Pornhub did. Okay, but again,
no. And what did Pornhub? And how did Pornhub? Hold on. Hold on. Do you know how Pornhub did that? Do you know what they had to implement to do that?
They banned the whole state.
They required people to verify.
With what? With what? With what?
No, that's not what Pornhub did, Sam. You're wrong.
Which is not what you're arguing, by the way.
Hold on. Wait. My initial thing. Well, my initial thing, right? They verify age because I have an account as an ex-creator, right? I have an account. When you have an account to upload stuff there and to get verified, you have to do a lot of paperwork. Some of that includes your fucking ID. So back to my initial point when I came in here,
That's not
was
your
saying
argument.
what South Korea. Bitch, my first thing I said was like, Korea does this. We can do this. When I called you stupid off of your initial statement before like I even started this, right? I said we could do it like that. There's an easy way to enforce it.
Well, again, that's not. You've been giving the argument that we should completely ban all these websites.
Yes. And I'm not going to change that stance. They're harmful. They facilitate child abuse. They facilitate the sale of stolen items and goods. They facilitate the spreading of hateful rhetoric from both the communists as well as people that are LARPing as militia groups instead of like being the real good guys. Okay. Not like our good friends Patriot Prayer. I can't.
Well,
I was about to
the
say.
government doesn't regulate.
Bro, I didn't know how you made it past the tiny hats on Facebook. Like when you said that, I
tried so Lactoid. I put up a good one. I did. You got to admit it.
It was impressive. Yeah, for sure.
No, okay, but like unironically, actual stance is that social media should be banned. And Lactoid, you heard me say that before.
Yeah,
this is a stance I've had for the past like 5-10 years.
Sure. So okay, a couple things. Clearly, the First Amendment's at issue here, right, in terms of freedom of expression. When it comes to CP particularly, there's court cases on that and why that's not allowed, specifically under obscenity because of the lack of political, artistic. There's a whole laundry list of things that are simply not protected, and that falls under that. But arguably, social media would, because if you use it for, let's say, an explicitly political purpose, then it's no longer, something just aimed purely at like a prurient interest. It's not just pornography; it's also expression. My solution that I propose is actually somewhat similar to. I didn't know South Korea had this system, so I might just be reinventing the system. But what I would like to see is like your local DMV website will give you like a random code, like a two-factor authentication thing that Google does. And then you enter that code into like explicit websites that you want to use, and the DMV has your information anyway, right? They already have your. They're the ones who issue the fucking IDs.
Yeah, this is similar, but you just use your normal ID. And like the cool thing about that is like any website you go to, right? This would prevent things. So like like the message boards that had like the legit like weirdo guys planning like fucking bombings and shit, or like guys going to other forms. So it would prevent like that type of stuff. They don't get an anonymous thing to be anonymous. They're always going to be like, you posted this here. This was your card used at login. Blah 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 blah. There's no way out of this, dickhead.
That's a valid concern. But I also have a real concern, which is like I don't know if I always want the government being able to do this, especially with just recently Scotland's anti-hate crime law that just passed, which essentially means that if you offend, whether intentionally or unintentionally, a protected group in Scotland, that's a criminal offense, right? If you engage in hateful conduct, even if you don't mean to, and it happens to offend somebody of a protected class, then you can get in trouble. It's a criminal offense. You can get arrested for that. The idea that like the Scottish government, for example, could take this, and I guess there's something stopping them from doing it now. They could take this and then just say like, okay, like we're going to enforce this against people who are on anonymous message
Just get
boards.
get rid of protected classes. Problem solved.
Well,
we fix racism.
I don't disagree that like getting rid of that's a laudable goal, but like we also have to work within the confines of reality here. I don't think those are going away anytime soon, but like we also don't have to ban all social media. I don't know if there's enough political will to ban all social media. That seems pretty excessive.
I do think it would be just a net positive for society if we did. That's an unironic belief. Put down social media, pick up a Bible.
I think it'd be definitely a positive for society if like kids didn't use social media. I do think that's like
oh no, yeah, that's why I said restricted. My initial thing was restricted till 18, if not banning.
I think that like the personal liberty interest in adults like engaging in it is too high for me just to ban it. But like for adults, right? But for kids, I can see it.
Yeah, which is why I said I'll meet halfway. I'm fine with like making the age restricted till 18, right? Because they're gonna like once they're in social media, they're going to be exposed to a bunch of shit. And the consistent free speech thing, like if you're fine with like children engaging in these fucking platforms, and having unfettered freedom of speech, then you have to have the unfettered freedom of speech when an adult interacts with a child in an inappropriate way, because freedom of speech.
Well, yeah, well, right, but freedom of speech doesn't apply to that, right? Going back to the obscenity standards. Do you
Freedom of speech? Wait! Stop. Freedom of speech does. It stops when you solicit the minor, right? You can have a talk with a minor about sexual things.
Wait, explain that one.
I don't know.
This happens. This happens. This happens in school. Yeah, this happens in schools. This happens with all kind of like. So that like itself, just having a talk about sex or sexuality with children is not an issue. It's when you solicit or start imposing like yourself or sending pics or telling them what to do, things like that.
I actually want to address that real quick, Lactoid, if you don't mind, before you go. I think that Sam might be onto something right there. Now, I think the problem we have right now is I don't know if she's joking with the Bible thing, but unironically, like whenever like I think this is a big thing. Whenever people talk about the sexuality conversations with children, I think that there is some aspect of this that's true. Like obviously you want to talk about the physical safe sex aspect with people under 18. That's something that the school should be teaching. Now I know that we've had issues, especially in Florida is a good example of this, where they are banning books that are like, showing basically what they're deeming pornography, or they're banning whatever. And I had an example of a book that like slipped past, the Scholastic Book Fair that was basically just a smut book. And I think that there is like there's some examples, and I think that's when it comes down to kind of what's
why are they censoring that? What about their freedom of speech and their freedom of expression?
Well, that would fall in the obscenity standard, but this is where I think it gets murky. And this is kind of what I wanted to see what y'all flesh out was, okay, so whenever we talk about what's the difference, where's the line, right? So we obviously there's the obscenity standard where it's like smut or porn, and then there's obviously the physical education standard. But where I think we need to be concerned on that is when it comes to things like values, right? Like, say like you had someone go into a school and they were like, oh, they want to talk about LGBTQ sex, and then someone comes in and they're like, no, that's bad. Like that goes against my good, wholesome Christian values, right? And that might be a little more murky because you could have one side says, I don't think that this should be taught in schools, and then you have another group of people that says, hey, I think that it might. Even though I don't necessarily agree with it, I want these people to have sex safely. And you might have another group that says, let's teach them everything. And I think
which is why when it comes to values, it's harder to put that in schools, right? Because who dictates the values taught in schools, right?
That's the point.
So values should be taught at home, but this shit is general knowledge, and this is why kids shouldn't have access to the internet or half of the teachers in this country.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not opposed to that either. All right, so I think Sam and I might be on the same page on that one.
I 100% oppose that. I think that children should, maybe not in schools, but they should have access to learning about different values than what their parents have. I think that's
cool, and that can be done without social media.
Sure, but I don't think that should be limited.
Can it be done? But can it be done after the age of 14? Right?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it should be.
Well, hold on.
So wait. Why can't a 14-year-old drive then?
Hold on. What? No, don't even that. Like, what values do you need at 14 years old? Like, realistically, big world values do you need? Like, are 14-year-olds needing to like, I should understand the Hegelian dialectic and the master-slave dialectic within like no 14-year-old needs this shit. They need to be doing their fucking schoolwork.
Well, if they want to learn that stuff, then they should have the right to.
Activities. Yeah, cool. There's a library for a fucking reason.
Okay, what about like LGBT topics? Do you think that people should be banned from learning about LGBT topics?
In a lot of, as a fucking LGBT person, yeah, I do. In a lot of cases, I think a lot of the ways that it's taught is inappropriate and wrong, especially on fucking social media. And yeah, cool. Right here's a fucking thing. Here's a fucking thing that happened in this fucking community. Right? How about a fucking 14-year-old is on social media, sees some fucking dumb cunt being like, "Hey, look, I made this place you can get DIY HRT." And then that kid fucking takes the mom's credit card that he was using for fucking Fortnite and goes buy these fucking things they're going to inject into their fucking body from some bitch on fucking Twitter, right? Not fucking in a fucking box. You don't know where this shit's made from. Cool, yeah. I think a lot of this shit should be fucking restricted. But unironically, as a fucking trans fucking fag.
Well,
I tried.
Mr. Hammer. So like,
what's up?
On a serious note, why can't 14-year-olds drive? They would have the they would have the physical ability at that point.
Yeah, but they don't have the they put themselves and others in physical harm.
Why?
What? Yeah, how are they putting some?
They're not because they're not responsible enough to understand the dangers of driving.
And they're not
They are,
responsible to
but
understand
they
the
are
dangers.
responsible
They're
enough to
not.
understand the dangers of social media.
Well, I mean, yes, because it's a collection of ideas, like coming across ideas.
No, that's
can't
not
be
coming
limited in the
across
same way.
ideas. It's talking about social media. You can still go to town square and come across ideas.
Well,
I can go
again,
to
it's
town
limiting-
square and
it's
learn how
limiting
to
your
drive a car.
access to. It's limiting your access. I mean, the whole point is that they're coming across things that you find harmful. So
Don't
if
we
we're limiting
already
their
limit
access to-
kids' access? Isn't there already YouTube videos that are for 18 plus? Don't we already
Yeah, I mean,
limit
that's
kids'
explicit-
access?
Well, that falls under like. I mean, those
No, if I
those-
use cuss words in a
those are
YouTube
under
video,
the
it's 18 plus. If I use cuss words, if too many cuss words in a YouTube video, it's 18 plus. If
I don't think it's legally I don't think that's legally required to keep kids from.
no, that's YouTube's policy
Yeah, I mean it's YouTube's policy because that's their
because they
choice.
see the
I don't
harm it
think
could
that-
do.
I don't think the government can enforce.
No,
Why do you
not
think?
allowing
Why do you
children
think?
to
Why do you think
discuss
YouTube would make? Why do you think YouTube would make that their policy?
Well, because generally
They
people
don't
are
get more
against-
money because they get less views.
So hold up.
I mean,
Gibbs got
they
a
do get a
dip.
better
So
reputation.
I have to
Right.
leave, guys. I have to leave. I apologize for having to leave early. Thanks for having me. It's been very fun. Lactoid, Sam's, Proud, Hammer, and Vigilante. Till next time, y'all be good. Thanks for having me.
you be good
Sam's
too.
Sam's
Have a good
right.
one, man.
Lactoid's right. Trust in them. All right, later, y'all. Y'all be good.
Later.
So,
No.
Mr.
Wait, why
Hammer,
do we let 14-year-olds? Why do we let 14-year-olds buy alcohol? Why don't we let 14-year-olds purchase firearms?
Because they can cause physical harm to themselves or others.
Okay, but why?
Because, well, alcohol, if you overconsume it, you can die. If you use
Okay,
a
then
firearm on
why
yourself or
are
others, they can die.
Wait. If you can, okay, yeah, cool. Then they would also have those same restrictions for adults because your chance of dying from drinking doesn't stop when you turn 18 or 21, right? Your chances from dying from a firearm doesn't stop because you magically hit the age to purchase a firearm. Why don't we let minors purchase firearms, alcohol, or drive cars?
Well, it doesn't stop, but it is to a reasonable extent. To where we
Why?
can allow it.
Why?
Because they have the responsibility at a certain age.
welcome,
Why?
Gibbs Raiders.
No, what changed or what developed more so that they could have that?
General, like again, it's just general. We know that
Jesus
Brain
Christ, just bite the bullet.
Brain
just fucking-
development.
brain.
Yes.
I mean, brain development. Oh yeah, sure, brain development.
Okay, so if
Life
these people can
experience.
engage with if
Yeah,
these
life
people can
experience.
engage with other things, right? Which I would say like, okay, far less kids, right, die from alcohol poisoning and fucking firearms than and fucking car crashes from them driving than the harm that is caused long term from social media exposure, from being exposed to radicalized ideas and becoming communists, from being exposed to groomers, being exposed to child predators, being exposed to like horrible fucking wrong. Do you want a bunch of fucking gen fucking alpha fucking zeta theta whatever the fuck they are now? You're gonna end up with a generation of fucking flat earthers that believe that like fucking Kanye is the second coming of Christ. Okay,
So
because like this is how dumb this shit is getting because so many fucking young fucking retards are connected to fucking the Matrix, learning a bunch of dumb shit. This is way
So-
more harmful than
Okay,
handing a
so,
14-year-old
Mr.
a firearm,
my
a 14-year-old a
answer-
bottle of Jack, or the 14-year-old a keys to
So
a Cadillac.
hammer then Sprout.
Yeah. So my answer to this question is that we don't protect. We protect people's rights to like associate and people's rights to free speech in a way that we don't protect people's access to harmful things like harmful objects like cars and alcohol and guns.
Mr. Hammer. Okay, so first off, a car is not necessarily a harmful object. It's not really ever considered a harmful object.
It's
A car is dangerous. Yes, harmful.
Physically
No,
dangerous.
it is a
potentially
dangerous
harmful.
object. It's not a harmful object.
Isn't that true for all objects?
I mean, sure, but
no,
like,
there's
we
some
have-
there's some
mean,
objects.
again-
Wait 1 second, please. I was going to ask a question, but there's some objects I could make some argument that it's intentionally harmful to certain. We'll talk about that later if you want to, Lactoid. The point that I was going to get to is we don't let a 14-year-old do any of this. Like, if I was going to manipulate someone, if I was going to take someone and manipulate somebody, and I was going to get the same goal either way, and I had an adult and a child to manipulate, right? Which one would it be easier for me to choose to successfully manipulate this individual into doing something?
Generally speaking, it would be the child.
Okay, so why would the child be the easier target for me to manipulate?
Because they're not as developed, they don't have the maturity.
Okay, so don't you think that could play into what we allow children to do on the internet and what we allow children to do for their own safety? We are allowed to have children not have the full rights of a adult in America because they're a minor child. We already do this other places. Why would we not control what they are able to do and what they're able to see to make sure that, one, they're not able to participate in any harmful activities, and two, they're not able to, or as much as we can protect it, they're not able to view harmful material?
So this is... So depending on what you're talking about, this is probably true for very specific cases. So if, like in cases of children communicating sexually with an adult, we're always going to ban that because that does fall under like
no. Social media is harmful to children.
Okay, but that's going to be my second part. Is that that does not therefore give you the right to completely restrict their freedom of speech or freedom of association.
We're not restricting their freedom of speech.
Well, that's the whole point. You don't want them to like communicate, or you don't want them to communicate.
We're not saying that they can't. We're not saying they can't communicate. So if social media is required to communicate, how do people communicate? Okay, then it's not required to communicate. It's not required for free speech.
I said you're restricting.
There's no requirement to have a social media account to practice your free speech.
You're restricting them from certain forms of speech and association.
Certain forms of speech and association are already restricted.
Why? And those are very, very specific forms. So
and this would also be another specific form.
Mr. Can we let Sprout finish his thought?
Mr. Hammer, why is the president of the United States not allowing me to have free speech because I can't go before the nation? I cannot get up on that stage and talk before the nation like the president can. Why is he restricting my free speech? I should be able to do it because he can do it.
Well, that's government property, so you can't just...
it's not government property.
The
airways are not government property. The broadcast channels are not government property.
Why
the room in which they broadcast the State of the Union, maybe.
Yeah. I would say, okay, so if you're talking about like them just going in front of a bunch of cameras and addressing the nation, I would say that's, I guess, like impersonation. So if you're to say, I am the president, I am...
No, I'm not saying I'm the president. I want to address the nation as a concerned citizen. Would have the same amount of reach as the president.
Is that illegal?
No, the president disallows me with Secret Service to go before the nation and to speak.
Like in what way? I'm sorry,
I am not allowed to take a stage, right? I'm not allowed to use presidential airways, which means that it takes over all radio frequencies, all TV channels. I'm not allowed these things. Why is the president restricting my freedom of speech?
Wait, you just shat on your own argument by using the president's airways.
Okay, that would be less proper. No, like okay. One, I was trying to implement something I could do for my house. Let's just stick to the stage argument then. So the argument of the stage, why am I not allowed to go on that stage and speak?
You are. Okay. Stop. This is a stupid argument.
No, the Secret Service is going to allow me to go on the stage.
No. That stage is government property as well. That's like stop.
No,
Sprout.
not if they rent it.
Sprout. Stop.
Well,
wait.
No, once you rent something that is temporarily in your possession as your property, that's like what a rental agreement is. Sprout, please stop while you're trying to save Sprout. Okay. I'm trying to save you right now. Stop.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm not.
Such a way with words, Samantha.
Am I wrong? That was a bad argument. That was a really bad line.
There might be some law. There might be some laws that I'm not aware of against like standing before the nation in certain ways. I've never heard of this, so I couldn't answer that question. Usually there's like constitutional arguments for like limiting someone's free speech. And again, like limiting anything for anyone that like can be seen as harmful or seen as something you don't like them seeing does not fall into that category.
We naturally protect children from harmful activities, yes?
Here's the answer, legally speaking. Not all rights are absolute. We have rights, and when the government wants to violate those rights, it can. It just needs a really fucking good reason. And if it has a good enough reason, if the Supreme Court, in their judgment, believes that they have a good enough reason to trample on our rights, they can do it. And in this case, when it comes to restricting like certain kinds of, CP, when it comes to restricting like terroristic threats, when it comes to restricting like defamation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, these things either don't fall under First Amendment protections, or the interest in the government is overwhelmingly in favor of the interest there is overwhelming, and the government gets to trample on the rights. This is how it works. So what Samantha could make the argument is, look, the interest the government has in protecting children here is sufficient to override the limited First Amendment rights that children have, because children do have some First Amendment rights. And I think that's going to be the argument that DeSantis' team here, the state of Florida, pushes, right? The argument's going to be, look, we have an interest in protecting children. We get to do it, right? We understand it, even if it does violate the First Amendment a little bit, our interest in protecting children is so important here that we should have the right to do it. I could see that argument working, especially with the Supreme Court. I could also see it not working, right? If the Supreme Court decides that the freedom of speech is just stronger than the interest the government has. But no rights are absolute. The government does have an interest in protecting children, but that doesn't mean they can just violate everyone's rights to protect children. And that doesn't mean they can protect all of the rights that children have to protect children, right? The government can't mandate that all kids get wrapped up in bubble wrap and sit inside their house all day because they might get hit by a car. It just doesn't work that way, right?
So from what I know, I haven't seen an example like that disputes this. Usually when the freedom of speech is restricted, it's only in cases where like the actual speech is harmful and only harmful in all cases. So like we all know the example, like screaming fire in a movie theater. There's no positive purpose that can be seen from that, and it's only going to create harm, so therefore it's banned. In terms of like if a child is on social media interacting, they could come across something that's like, I don't know, like a makeup tutorial, and that's actually kind of nice for them and cool, and because of that, like those things can't be banned, right?
Or that makeup tutorial now turns that 14-year-old into somebody who has body dysmorphia and goes into depression, develops an eating disorder over that kind of shit. Because that stuff.
So do we have?
So do we have laws? We're seeing a higher rate of young children and like young teens that are engaging on social media, and the mental health of them is declining more and more over time.
And Mr. Hammer, don't we have laws? Don't we have laws that specifically restrict kids from doing certain things on the internet, like going to a porn site? We have laws that mandate that these websites restrict anyone that is underneath the age of 18 from accessing these websites.
Cigarette websites are a good example where it's not actually like sexual, but children are still not allowed to access them.
Okay. Or any site that also any site that sells weed. Any site that any and all of these sites the kids are legally restricted from accessing.
Sure. So I think, well, in the cases of weed and cigarettes, that would be a child. I guess it's not literally illegal, but like the only purpose is for like the children to like, get access to things that for them are illegal, because you can't consume cigarettes or weed under the age.
No one said they were making a purchase.
Sure, but like that's kind of the purpose of the website is for purchases, right? So like again, the purpose is for something that we see as inherently harmful, which is probably also the case. Now this can be kind of argued, but we've kind of agreed that children accessing porn is inherently harmful.
I mean, I've gone to a lot of sites where stuff is sold just to look at the information of the product being sold and not made a purchase.
Sure, but like I don't think that's really defensible. Like,
I don't think that
we have come together as a society and created laws around these things because we found that like a majority of the time it's going to be harmful. for these people to engage in this stuff.
Yes.
What I'm
Sure.
saying, my argument is that social media is something that should be deemed as harmful as cigarettes towards minors, alcohol, same shit.
But the whole point is that like the reason I say that like your example of you go on these websites to like you just look at the products but you don't actually buy anything. That's the reason I say that's not defensible is because that's not the purpose of the website. The purpose of the website is to sell you things, right?
One second. So it doesn't matter what the purpose of the website is. It matters what happens when the person's on the website. It has no. It does not require the intent of the person that created the website and what they intended the website to be created for.
And
Like,
this has precedence through the entire banning of like the dating site of Craigslist.
So like there's no. It's not about what it was intended for. It's what happens on that site that matters.
I mean, I guess in
Lactoid, since I see your brain breaking. So Craigslist, just Google Craigslist Fosta Sesta.
There's an NPR article on it. Hold on.
and I would say like
Wait, real quick. Are you talking about? So it looks like Craigslist voluntarily shut down.
Under pressure from the government.
Because there was a sex. Yeah, okay. Because there was a sex trafficking bill that.
Yeah.
Would
So
have
they
opened them up
were
to
pressured by the
liability, I'm
government.
guessing. Sure.
Because that's not what Craigslist was intended for, but a bunch of sex trafficking was done through Craigslist. So the government pressured them, and they gave, rightfully so.
All right,
So I
so we're
would say-
starting to get to time. So
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and get to closing statements and head to open. So if anybody has a dip, they are more than welcome to. Starting with Lactoid.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me on, Lethe. I really appreciate it as always. Thank you all of you who spoke with me. And I know Gibbs already left, but thanks to him too. It was a good discussion. I think to sort of wrap up on this last topic, I'm really torn here because like protecting children generally can't consent to anything. And so the idea is we want to protect them, but we also have to recognize that we don't want to unintentionally hurt them by restricting their growth and development. And when it comes to social media, I do think it's a very evidence-based position that I think we need to hold, which is, what does the evidence demonstrate in terms of the effect of social media on children specifically? Because they can't choose willingly to use these websites because they can't choose willingly to do a lot of things because they're children. The evidence I've seen thus far is strong enough to convince me that social media is probably pretty negative for the well-being of children. In the same way that I think adults should be able to smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, do whatever they, do really whatever they want with their own health. They can use social media. That's fine. Children, not so much. So I think Ron DeSantis, as usual, is pretty based on this. I'm interested to see where the courts go. I'm very concerned with how this might kind of the slippery slope of how this might go down, especially when you have countries becoming so fucking totalitarian woke, where they're really enforcing restrictions and laws against people who don't follow the current political paradigm, even if they're adults. Pretty fucking crazy. But right now, with the bill, I think there's enough evidence there to support it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hammer.
Yeah, I don't agree that this I don't think that this like the harms that are created, I don't think they fall under the purview of like inherently harmful, that some other things like cigarettes, especially for minors, and sexual contact with minors, things like this, can be seen like say someone like goes on social media and like they see someone who's pretty and like maybe that makes them feel bad. I don't think that's like I think that's generally not considered like an inherently harmful interaction, and I don't think that's considered like inherently harmful content. So yeah, I don't think this like meets the requirements to fall under free speech, and that's it.
All right, Sprout.
So any argumentation this is not inherently harmful is just it has not looked into the studies of effects of social media on children. There's no linkage to mental health. I will agree with V there, but there is linkage to effects on children and in how that works with children. So I can't say it affects mental health as in like diagnoses or not, but I can tell you there is an effect on the children, whether or not that affects the mental health. At the same time, if you look at these studies and if you actually like take a look at them, there's you're going to realize that there is more risk for harm than good. Ultimately, when you look at the risks that they're taking by going on this website or going to these social media sites, and at that point, cigarettes weren't outlawed for kids because because they don't kill 100% of people, or they don't kill 90% of people that smoke them, or they don't. It wasn't a percentage base. There was no like, oh, it's harmful enough, so now we're gonna do it. Is it harmful to the children more times than not? And the answer to social media is gonna be yes. It is more harmful to children more times than not, and so therefore I would agree with children being essentially banned from social media until the age of 15 or 16 with parental consent, 17 or 18 following that. I see absolutely no issue with that, and we need to protect children's development. We need to protect children in their childhood, and I see no problems with this.
All right, Vigilante.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really not convinced that we need to do anything more than maybe segregate social media to where fucking adults and children can't interact with each other. I mean, because the only valid concern that the only valid concern that I see here is the sexual interactions between adults and children, basically pedophiles interacting with children on social media. That's really the only valid concern that I see. The big problem here, though, is the fact of like, when we talk about a lot of these stuff that's been done, like Sesta Fosta and all of that, it's actually that these things tend to have more negative impact because it doesn't get rid of the human trafficking element. It doesn't get rid of these elements that the things still happen. You just don't fucking see them. Which the fact that you can't see it doesn't change the fact that it happens. So the FBI has actually stated that Sesta Fosta made it significantly harder for them to even track human traffickers. So that doing stuff like this is just going to make it easier for human traffickers to get away with their shit.
All right, Samantha. And she's good. All right, y'all.
Because they have less outlets, right? So here, just like the cigarette things, right? If you take away stores that can sell cigarettes, you're going to reduce the sale of cigarettes. Yes, they will be sold on the black market, but in lower quantities. Also, I don't remember what the retard said. It's irrelevant. Yeah, fuck kids. They shouldn't be online. It's happening.
All right, so we're just.
Oh yeah, no, wait. Somebody wanted to bring up harm. Okay, it's not about them accessing harm. What we are seeing, right, in studies show this, APA studied it, right, is we're seeing a rise in suicide of youth, and it's connected to like a lot of the shit and rhetoric and stuff that they're seeing on social media, not being good enough, not having this, expectations, body dysmorphia, depression, eating disorders. So that's the harm. Fuck what you're watching. It's the outcome of them killing themselves.
All right, and on that, we're going to head to open panel. So if anybody wants to join, you are more than welcome to. If anybody needs a dip, by all means, give yourself an outro. And either way, it has been a blast, everyone.
Yeah, I'm going to dip. Hey, if you liked what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Thank you, Lactoid.
Bye,
Always
Lactoid.
good having you.
Bye. I'm gonna go take a whiz.
All right, I'm going to.
Hey, my bro.
I'm Samantha Savage. Get fucked.
All right. Good little Lethe Waterkai panel today. Samantha Savage is a glorious troll as always. Um, yeah, I mean, good people. Gibbs is always fun. I like Gibbs. I think he brings a lot of energy. I think I could use some of that energy a little bit sometimes, but you take your strengths while you get them, and the weaknesses come there too. What we're gonna do is we're gonna rate on out, and I'm thinking we're gonna rate on out into Rob. Looks like Rob's streaming, so we're gonna rate on out into Rob. He's doing some stuff about DEI, which sucks. So, not that he's doing content on it, but that it sucks. It's a concept. It's racist. I think I've said this on Twitter, right? I mean, Democrats just hate white people. That's like, I think what probably motivates 40% of all of their actions is like that sort of like racial analysis. 40, I'll have to think about like an exact percentage. Off the top of my head, I'm assuming 40, but that could be argued up or down. But they absolutely, I'm convinced at this point that they are, the Democrats in particular, at least like the establishment, they want white people to fail, because then if white people fail, the achievement gaps between white people and minorities get smaller, and then they can run on reducing those achievement gaps, right? That's more important to them than overall prosperity or overall achievement or respecting individual rights. They don't really care about any of that. I know there was some criticism in the chat about my belief in restricting certain rights for children. It's fair. I'm sympathetic to the idea that government restriction goes too far and can go too far. For sure. I totally get it. I don't think that's a stupid concern to bring up. I just think that sort of my analysis of this really is that, children can't consent. They haven't achieved the minimal, what I would believe to be the minimal necessary brain state to consent to actions, right? They're not sufficiently developed enough to properly make judgments about what they want in terms of what they truly want. Connecting their focus and their action and putting that together in terms of a want. I don't think they're capable of doing that, and obviously in the way that adults are. So because of that, I think that we have more of a justification to restrict the rights of children in accessing certain things that are harmful to them, as opposed to adults, right? I'm not going to stop an adult from buying menthol cigarettes like Joe Biden wants to do. But I am going to stop a 4-year-old from buying a pack of menthol cigarettes, because a 4-year-old doesn't get to smoke cigarettes. Sorry. A 4-year-old isn't of the mental capacity to understand the long-term ramifications of tobacco and make a choice as to, I want to smoke cigarettes. So, you shouldn't be able to sell cigarettes to 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds or blah, 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 blah. And parents who give their kids cigarettes, I think, are committing a crime. A hot take. And if you give your kid alcohol, I think it's a crime. If you engage in sexual activity with a child, it's a crime. If you get a kid to gamble, that's a crime. Like both de facto, it's a crime. It just is a crime. But I would want it to be a crime because, what do all these things have in common, right? Sexual activity, gambling, drinking, smoking, doing drugs. All these have in common a pernicious risk associated with them. And this pernicious risk of causing somebody to be harmed is high enough and concerning enough to prohibit the activity for people who can't consent to that risk. You can consent to risks with yourself, generally, but if you can't consent to risks for yourself, as children cannot do, then we can't let you engage in that. Sorry. Yeah, and the question really is just, does social media fall in the same pool of gambling, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, etc.? I think the evidence is kind of pushing that it's getting close, at the very least. It's getting close. Maybe not so much so that we're going to stop a 17-year-old from using social media or a 16-year-old, but a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, I certainly don't want them to be on social media, and I would never let any kids of mine to be on social media. But yeah, and they, they probably just shouldn't be on social media, generally speaking. So anyway, that's a kind of full elaboration of my position. I know this is something that is sort of a meme in the libertarian world, but I think that libertarianism is it is a big tent party, but there are, and I'm very accepting of different interpretations of things, but like I think that we have to accept that people who are compromised to the point where they can't consent, you just have to have a separate set of rules for them. First of all, because of everything I just went through philosophically, but also, I mean, I don't want to just say like it's fucking gross, but like, because that's not a good argument. But I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So, what do we got? We got always, debates coming here and there, coming through. There may be some more this week. Obviously, there's going to be one coming up Monday, most likely, as usual, and then perhaps one next weekend as well, depending on if that is going to be streamed or not. I don't know. Yeah, how y'all doing? It's fun. It's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Good shit. Let's right on out. Oh, thank you to everyone who gave subs today. Really appreciate it.